What's going on, everybody? I'm Jeremy, and you guys are watching Warfels Morse Inside the Coils. Yes, that is it. We finally, or at least I like the name. Open to ideas if constructive criticism, folks. But hey, I think I kind of like the name Inside the Coils. We're gonna run with it for now, unless someone comes up with something even better. This week, folks, as you can tell, it's Saturday. I never go live on Saturdays unless there's something that kind of, throws a monkey wrench into the whole scheduling thing. And with Mother's Day being tomorrow, and on top of it, I have to do night work tomorrow night. So it made a lot of sense to do this live stream tonight instead. It kind of like gets into some other people's time slots. So I do apologize to my sister, Angie. They're at Celtic Balls. They're doing their mom juice, making me crazy, I think it's now titled, but they're doing their mom juice thing now. So if you're subscribed to them, hey, feel free to jump back and forth. You don't have to just stay here or you don't have to just stay there, whatever. Have fun. And KG Constrictors, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. I said they like to play on words. Thank you. So yeah, we have tonight, our guest is Brandon Nixon of Nixon Reptiles, folks. He's definitely he's got a lot more projects in the works species wise than what I even knew. So this is gonna be a great live. We're gonna dive into a whole bunch of different stuff, and let's welcome Brandon to the show. What's up, Brandon?
Hey there, Jeremy.
How's it going, bro?
Not too bad. Snake rooms are hot, so sweating.
And you were just horsing around. You were just
Kinda.
tossing
Might
around.
as well have been moving a horse.
I was gonna say that one looked like it's about the size of a horse. Good grief.
She's a big one.
Definitely, dude. Berms and retics are amazing. I think they're beautiful, but I do not know if I could ever bring myself to actually have one, just because of the size. And seeing you haul out one around, it's like, good God, that's too much work.
Yeah, but I will probably catch hate on that. But I think berms are amazing. Retics are. I'm just partial to them, man. I've had a couple of retics like in the past, and I've had them for like 1 or 2 years, and then it's just like, and I've had them, and I've even gotten them as adults, and they've been fine. But it's like a giant corn snake. Like whenever they want to go somewhere, they want to go, and it's like never ending, like doing this thing.
Oh,
and it gets like very tiring and very frustrating. Like a berm is like a giant ball python.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're just really chill. They're pretty relaxed. It's a retic. It's just like one time it could be cool, and then the next time, maybe not so much. And it's like I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. I just can't like deal. Not even deal with them. I just can't like. I don't have that same attachment. You know what I mean?
Well, I know, like, especially after watching people like Brian Cusker. I remember the one he had a pied retic, and I guess this thing wasn't the most friendly, but like you said, it was very much like a corn snake in how it wanted to just move. Yeah. And I mean, he was dead tired by the time he was done trying to work with this thing, just for the brief, couple minutes he was doing it in the video. And it's just like, man,
sure.
That's a big snake that just wants to move a lot. It's like, plus the size thing. This thing gets me. 10 foot is about my max.
That's like that one that I had. She's probably maybe, I don't know, 12, 13 feet or something like that. And I mean, how old is she? She's like 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, okay.
Like I've had her for a good while, and she's been about that size for the last probably couple of years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So she's not actually.
So she's pretty much maxed out. Yeah.
Nice. Let's see. We got Jeremy and Holly, Snakes for the Memories. Apparently they're out at a comedy show, but thanks for just swinging in, guys. And yes, please do catch it on the replay. Matt, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Danny, my brother. Yes, Danny. I had to do a show tonight because tomorrow's Mother's Day. Plus, I got to do night work, bro. So definitely made it a little bit more sense to do it tonight. Plus, Danny, all right, you got to watch this thing the whole way through too, bro, because I've got a slightly different setup. So I need your constructive criticism because I know you'll be brutally honest. Hopefully, this table will not wobble with this with the laptop and camera anymore. or if it does, it'll be very minimal. So definitely let me know how it turns out, Danny. Thanks for tuning in, bro. Let's see here. We got 10 people in, or according to the counter. Sometimes I don't trust that thing. But let's go ahead and thank the sponsors of this week's episode quickly. Danny always loves this segment. Danny, you can just put it on silent for like a minute, bro. So here are the sponsors of this week's episode.
Gettysburg Reptile Expo, LLC is located at the All-Star Event Complex in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. A 45,000 square foot venue with 125 plus vendors and top quality breeders, along with 270 plus tables. If you're looking for a python, boa, colubrid, gecko, lizard, or amphibian, you've come to the right place. Doesn't matter if you're a breeder looking for that missing piece to your project or a pet owner looking for your next scaly friend, Gettysburg Reptile Expo, LLC has you covered. Need an incubator or rack system? They have you covered with sea serpents set up there to meet all your needs. The next show dates are March 18th, July 15th, and November 11th of 2023. Show times are from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Make sure to check them out on their website, Instagram, and Facebook. Mark your calendars because this is one show you don't want to miss. So I'll see you at Gettysburg Reptile Expo, LLC.
Thank you, Joe, and the Gettysburg Reptile Expo LLC for sponsoring this week's episode. And on top of it, we got to go through our other sponsors. We've got my good friend Nathan at Infinite Possible Pythons, folks. If you need anything bang related, Nathan is the man to talk to. He is producing some bang stuff this year. Some of it's actually getting released as well, too, so hit Nathan up. So I'm working a bunch of other awesome ball python projects. Also working with some kahua geckos, some crested geckos, some Leachianus geckos as well. Those big freaking geckos, man. They're absolutely out of this world looking. They're kind of like dinosaur, prehistoric looking to me. But anyway, Nathan is also your one-stop shop for all of your branding needs. If you need like merch, shirts, hoodies, anything like that. God, I'm drawing. My mind's going a mile a minute here tonight. Business cards, vending stuff. If you need like backdrops or tablecloths, anything like that, hit Nathan up. Top quality products, and like I said, he's who I use for all of my vending stuff and merch and all that good stuff. Top quality stuff, folks. Definitely hit Nathan up. And then we got my brother Chris at S Reptilia, which basically is a one-stop shop for everything that you may need reptile-wise, unless you need a gecko. If you need blood pythons, boas, ball pythons, colubrids, he's got you covered. He's working several different colubrid species, so definitely hit him up. He's also a rat breeder on the eastern side of PA, so if you're ever in that neck of the woods, hit Chris up. He might be able to help you hook you up with some rats. Then on top of it, he is Pennsylvania's distributor of cocoa to go in the chipper, which is by far the best cocoa substrate on the market, in my opinion. So hit him up, give it a shot. Definitely, I love the stuff, and I think you will as well. Then we've got Husbandry Pro. If you are not using Husbandry Pro, please click the affiliate link in the description down below. Along with here, if you're feeling lazy, shoot, never mind. I totally goofed and copy pasted something different. Anyway, go to the description. Click the link in the description down below. Free 30-day trial of Husbandry Pro. You will definitely not regret switching and using it. Even ask my brother Danny, even though he will never give you his honest opinion because he's just too nice of a guy like that. Danny will tell you the wrong thing just to goof you up a little bit. Danny's even using Husbandry Pro now. So don't let him fool you, folks. But definitely try Husbandry Pro, folks. It saves me so much time, and the record-keeping aspect of it is absolutely out of this world. And then Redline Shipping. I don't know who you use for your shipping, Brandon, but Redline Shipping, use code ROBIN60 for 60% off your next 2 shipments. And let me tell you, folks, great prices, great customer service. Definitely try Redline Shipping out if you haven't already.
I use Redline as well. It's funny because I imagine you probably recently got your little promotion package deal too.
Actually, we're not affiliated yet with Redline.
Oh no, I mean like because they have the one that you can buy for like $30 where you get like a couple little like tools and like gadgets and things.
Oh no, I didn't even.
Yeah,
No,
it's like a little. It's almost like a little like a sample pack
oh, okay.
of stuff. So it's like, I mean, I got one, and I mean, it arrived today. I haven't like opened it up yet or not, or anything. But for some reason, initially when I seen the red shirt, I was thinking it was like a a red line shirt just because the redness, and I thought it would have been funny because I imagine the shirt that's in that bag is also bright red.
It probably is. In all honesty, you're probably right. But no, this is my only U.S. ARC shirt. I never got my new one for this year.
Yeah, I just have like the gray one, but nowadays I just like wear my own that I like have, and I'm going to start like making my own too because that's a somewhat easy process. Just requires the right equipment. So
yeah. See, I'm too lazy. I just let Nathan do that shit for me. He's got access to all the different brands of shirts and all that stuff. So it's just like, man, here's what I want. Make it.
Yeah, let it be your problem. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Let's see. We got some other people hopping in here. Danny, congrats as well. Doing good, having a good show at Oaks. I did hear that
that's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
I did hear that it was a little bit slow though. So at least you did had a good show, Danny. He did say in the chat though, in our group that the geckos were definitely outselling the ball pythons and stuff. So it might be a little bit of a swing as to who's king for a little bit. Maybe geckos are going to take the first spot. KG Constrictor says, I have kept lots of retics and I have had great experiences with them. But I will agree they're very active and will wear you out. They take a while to chill once you take them out. Plus, they poop a lot. The pooping a lot thing is a no-go for me, too. I like the stuff that doesn't poop a lot.
That's my current fascination, too, is blood pythons because they do not poop a lot.
Oh, dude.
Like they'll poop, like it'll take them like literal like months to poop. So it's like, you do like a little spot cleaning, or not necessarily spot cleaning, but you just will take the paper out or the bedding out whenever they, pee or urate. But as far as like an actual poop, like you don't have to deal with that like hardly, a couple times a year basically.
But when they do, oh man.
When they do, it adds up. But that's another one though, man. Like once they get to be adults, you only really have to feed the males like once a month and the females like every other week. Yeah. You can give them a little bit extra like during breeding season and stuff, but for the most part though, I mean, you don't need to feed them like excessively like you do say like a ball python or even like a boa. Like the boas, it's like I feel like I've had pretty good success or whatever with the last like couple years doing like every other week for like the adults and every like 3 week or adult females and every like 3 weeks for the males, because I mean, it's just, what are they doing? They're just hanging out. So, and there's a lot of benefits to not overfeeding the animals. I know like Vin Russo, he's talked about that stuff. And even like Warren Booth, like whenever somebody had, I think it was like Billy or something that had him on one of their things, he was talking about like heart size and all this other, like all these like physiological changes happen when they eat. So, some animals you don't need to feed them as often as we feed them. And, obviously they're not in the wild, but you consider in the wild, it's like, how often are they eating? They're certainly not eating like every Wednesday at like 6-7 o'clock at night.
No, they definitely don't have that luxury.
Yeah, they do not.
Definitely a lot more of a, hey, it's there, let's eat it. No, dude, man, when I had my blood python years and years ago, it blew me away. Like you said, on how like they don't poop. And then when they do, you just sit there and you just hang your head. You're like, oh my God. it's big. Yeah. Ed, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in, Ed. Look at those beautiful enclosures, brother. Thank you so much, Ed, for building those for me. Everybody, if anybody's remotely close to PA or would want to travel to pick up an enclosure, or if you need like PVC enclosure made, let me know and I will give you Ed's information. But Ed definitely builds some top-notch enclosures, folks, and I'm super, super happy with mine, Ed. So thank you
I'm
very
actually
much.
trying to have a show. I have like a design for like a show display that I want to make. So maybe he might be someone good to reach out to for that.
He
Because
is.
like I have like a very specific idea of how I want something to look. And I spoke a little bit with Sean Bradley because I seen he had like a CNC machine to do that stuff. And he said it would be like pretty brittle, like that PVC is brittle or whatever, but it's like, maybe there's like a different way of structurally putting it together that'll work. So maybe I'll have to like ask you for his information later and
Yeah.
see
I'll
what's
make
up because I have a couple ideas for some things.
Ed, dude, I mean, like Ed works with some really nice PVC. It's 1/2 inch PVC. Obviously, whatever, if you want it black or if you want it white, however you want it. But Ed's definitely an awesome guy to work with on that stuff. Like even if there's a slight little question about something, he'd give me a call or text me and say, "Hey, give me a call. I want to just run something by you quick," and super flexible, just amazing guy to work with. So I'll make sure I get you his phone number and stuff here at the end of the show. Kai, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. Dark Fired Morse, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Thank you very much. First time making a live. That's freaking awesome, man. Danny, it's 5 minutes and 13 seconds of your life that you will be so happy that you did watch. Alicia Jean. Hopefully I didn't.
That's the fiance.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's one of the situations we're talking about. We had like one of our retics out, and I was like just showing her because I was like, man, this thing's like looking really good. And I pulled it out, and then it flung its tail, and a literal stream of poop went from like the floor to the ceiling because it flung its tail and like just launched.
Oh,
it was something.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
okay.
It was something.
That would have me freak.
I've never once had a berm fling their tail and launch, piss or poop anywhere, but I've had that happen with multiple retics. So I've just sworn off of them. They're so cool, but I've sworn off of them. Even the dwarfs, I just don't want to deal with it.
That dude, the poop sling definitely would.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was it carpet too?
No, thankfully it wasn't. We had like a concrete, like a glossed concrete floor at the house that we had at the time. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, at least
Still,
it wasn't
not fun.
carpet.
Yeah, if it was carpet, I think I would have just burned the whole house down and started over.
Oh, that was bad. Ed said, "Sounds good. He's always up for new challenges." Jason, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Kike, thank you very much, brother, for tuning in. People are starting to roll in here now. So, Brandon, I know you've been on a couple lives before, but just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how'd you come, what made you decide to form Nixon Reptiles? Just give us a little bit of that background info.
Just a guy that's currently living in Maryland. So we'll see how long that lasts. But I don't know. Not really. I guess with like Nixon Reptiles, it just ended up there because nothing else just seemed to like make sense. It's like one of those like stupid things. Like, I mean, I've kept snakes and I produced like my first boas in like 2007. And then it's like you kind of bounce back and forth with all kinds of like names. Some of them ridiculous, some of them just dumb and cliche and whatever else. And then it's like at the end of the day, it's like Nixon Reptiles may be boring, but it is what it is, and it's not some something that'll change anytime soon. You know what I mean? It's like it's very reliable, and it is directed directly at you to a degree. So I know Chris Eaton or whatever, he's got problems with people with unoriginal names, but I'm fine with it. There are some cool ones though. There are some cool ones where it's like, damn, like like friggin' bomb projects. Like that's like one of the coolest ones. Like it's just such a cool name.
I agree with you on that one. I'm right there with you though. I mean, Warfels Morse, I really like. I don't know. I figured, well, I'm gonna throw my name to it, and I guess part of the reason I did that was it's like, well, hell, Justin did it, like with JKR. It's like,
Yeah.
So I kind of
Well, that's
use
the
that.
thing. If
And then
you
goes
make cool
name
enough
it
animals,
anyway.
yeah, if you make cool enough animals, the people will come. It doesn't really matter what your name is. But some
Exactly.
of them just, have like a more fun sound than others,
Yeah. Excuse me.
I know I've got like the little bar open so I could mute the mic because if I ever feel a sneeze coming on with all the seasonal changes now, it's been rough.
Yeah, all the nice pollen in the air, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Blackjack, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. So like, did you keep animals as when you were a kid and everything, or did this kind of come up later in life?
Oh no, I've literally always. I mean, I've always had them.
Okay.
I mean, like even like when I was a kid, it was more or less like wanting to be like a zookeeper or like a paleontologist. Typical. Young guy that wants to play around with dinosaurs. And this is the closest thing we got to it.
That's
that's pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, first, a couple of snakes were like corn snakes and little things like that. And then in high school, I, convinced my parents to let me get a couple of boas. And then I had a retic then too, which is great idea. I actually wanted to get a berm or I wanted to get a blood python because my parents have this really kind of fun-ish, kind of tradition whenever we were a kid. Like every year that you like turn an age, you get that many dollars worth of lottery tickets or like scratch offs. So when I was like 17, I got like $17 worth of lottery or of scratch offs.
Yeah.
And I ended up winning like $250 or something. And then I went down to Triple L to go because I wanted a blood python, like a red blood python. And the chick that works there, like she didn't want to let me hold it because they were bitey. But instead, she let me hold a albino Burmese python that I later went home with that day. So it's like, it's a really flawed logic at the end of the day. And it really like still like miffs me to this day that that's like the case.
No,
like it really just does. Like it's just not like,
but here's this snake that's going to get like 15 feet long.
And I did have that snake for like a year or so. And then it was at that point that I was going to go into the Marines and stuff. And then I was looking to sell it. And I found a guy locally that ended up getting her from me. And then he actually kept in touch with me for a good like number of years. And then she ended up passing away for whatever reason. I think he had tried to breed her and she ended up like twisting an oviduct or some kind of something happened to her, some sort of weird trauma. But she ended up kicking over. But yeah, he would like send me like updated pictures and everything else for a good couple of years after I sold it to him, which was interesting.
I've been hearing an awful lot lately about people having issues with snakes with twisted oviducts and stuff like that. That's just sad.
Yeah, I mean it's just like Frenchies, right? Like, Frenchies, like the little dogs, like those little bastards, you have to go have them brought in and do like a C-section on them to have babies. They're too small. Like people have like bred them to the extent that they're too small to like naturally have like birth or to naturally give birth. So at least from my limited understanding, I've never tried to breed Frenchies or whatever, but I've heard various things where some dog breeds, you'll have to physically bring them into the vet. They'll do a C-section. They'll get the puppies out of there. And then that's how you breed them because otherwise they're too big to pass through on the female dog without like potentially killing them or something crazy.
I think that comes to the point there where like you've gone too far. If the animal can't birth it's naturally, that I did not know that. That's kind of ridiculous. And here people judge us.
Yeah.
Seekers
get scolded for cutting eggs.
Yeah, dude, man. I don't know why people don't like that because I saved the life of one of mine by doing it. Because
I've never had anybody make like a negative comment about it, so I don't have any firsthand experience of people getting their panties in a bunch about it. But I've heard like plenty of people where they get all riled up about people caring about what they do, and it's like I don't really care. The only thing is like some of the stuff, to a degree, it's kind of fun, right?
Oh yeah, it's like opening up a present on Christmas.
Yeah, well, it's not so much that; it's more the fact of like in the sense of like, say you with like your bigger platform and whatever else, right? It's like you do an egg cutting, and it's like you're going for like some long odds, right? And it's like you're there and you're like anticipating it, but then it's like kind of cool that you can involve literally like hundreds, potentially thousands of people that follow you to like still be on that same like emotional roller coaster you are, of whether or not you are or are not going to hit like this cool thing, you know?
No, I get what you're saying, because like when I did the Xanac egg cutting, I think whoever watched that one, I hope you guys all enjoyed it, because that was probably that to this date anyway was the most exciting egg cutting that I have ever done. Like just hitting his visual Xanthics, which some of those actually took their first meals last night. Actually, the one actually took 2 meals. Like, you know, I was super pleased with, like, I had one left over that nobody wanted to eat, so I thought, well, I'll try her again, and she freaking smashed.
See if she's into it. Yeah.
So it was the one zebra bee female. She took 2 hopper mice, so I was not complaining about that. Chris, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. Still away, but trying to catch this. All right, bro. I forgot you went out. Hope you're having a fun time. Seeker here says, I mean, cutting open the eggs just to check on the babies is all right. Sometimes snakes take longer to hatch and breeders get worried. There's a lot of things that can happen. Like, they could not have an egg tooth. Like, there's a lot of issues, you know, cutting. I always do try to wait till 1 pips, but day 55, I mean, at least with my incubator, if somebody's not pipping by day 55, they're definitely like right there. So actually, speaking of which, what type of incubator are you using, Brandon? Do you have one of the fancy new Wilbanks, or do you have?
No, one day I will, just to have it, I guess. But right now I have an AP incubator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bought that whenever I got my berm cages and stuff like that, as you know, just because you're already paying freight anyway. So, and I got it, and it's like a 6 foot tall incubator. I can fit like a gang of clutches in there. So
okay, that's what I was
for the time being. Yeah, for the time being, it's totally, you know, it worked last season really well. I mean, we had 18 clutches total, and we didn't have 18 clutches in there at like one time, but you know, we had a lot going on, and you know, it worked just fine. I mean, I haven't had an issue with it yet, so. You know, I will eventually probably get one of those, just because, I mean, they just look really nice. There's really no reason other than that. Yeah, so I don't know. They just look like pretty cool, and I like the big glass door.
Yeah.
You know, but for right now, this isn't causing any issues. So whenever I need to get another incubator, that's when I'll get one of those. So. You know, we'll see what, you know, it looks like, you know, within the next like year or two, as far as how many clutches we'll be expecting and things along those lines.
Well, I know, like for me, I've got an old Coke fridge that I converted into an incubator, and it's funny. Like, I mean, what made these improvements to get for better air circulation for this year, because I was anticipating a lot more clutches. I was anticipating like, what was it, 11 possible clutches, 10 or 11 possible clutches. Anyway, we're going to end up with 7, but everything's been timed to where one clutch is going in, the other clutch is coming out. So there's never really been more than 2 clutches in the incubator for more than like maybe a week. So I went through and did those improvements with the fans, and it's like it was completely pointless at this point right now.
So I know like another incubator, because I have like a pair of Mexican pine snakes.
Okay.
And it's like those, obviously you have to incubate at a different temperature than say python eggs, you know. You know, so I do plan on getting an incubator specifically for like the colubrids, because I do want to expand on those Mexican pine snakes. So they're just awesome looking. They got like orange heads with like black bands. They're really pretty looking. You know, but they make there's this company called Nature's Spirit. I know you know Sal Gomez.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so he made like a video like forever ago about those Nature's Spirit incubators, because they're like 200. They're like, I can't remember. I want to say they're like $250, $300, but they might be like $500. But you can fit like a decent number of clutches like inside those things. And it's like, for me, like, I do not want to potentially risk clutches based on my handiwork. Like, there are so many things that can go wrong that I would just want to have like something that somebody knows exactly what they're doing, put it together. Like I can be somewhat handy. Like I've built some cages before, I've built some racks before, like I've done that stuff, but I feel like that's one thing. And then another thing is like an incubator, because like you said, with the air circulation, like a false wall, like keeping the heat, equivalent from like top to bottom, like a lot of research and a lot of figuring out goes into that stuff. And I'd rather just not make the mistake.
No, I know, like my first year using it, I was really, really nervous. I was really checking on those eggs an awful lot the first year. But now, it proved itself the first season with hatching, what was it, 4 clutches. I think we had 4 clutches our first year. It was 4.
Wait, if it's not broke, no need to like reinvent the wheel, right?
Exactly.
Like if it keeps working, then
And it seems like this year things are actually, if it normally everything's pipping like 2 to 3 days earlier than day 55. So
gotcha.
It's something like I'm happy with the results. I've had my first bad egg experience. It was this week. One of the carpet plates on eggs went bad on me. So other than that,
it would have probably gone bad from the beginning anyway. So it doesn't, that's not like a cause and effect of the incubator. Yeah, it's just an egg issue.
Yeah, it was a bummer. Definitely, Kara said that she knew something was wrong when I went up to bed the one night, and it sucked. But hey, we still got 10 eggs, which is one more egg than what I had originally expected. Nathan, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. Let's see here. Chris says, Seeker, all snakes are different and take different times to hatch. Temperature also has a lot to do with it. Yep, totally right. Now, you recently got a new rack that I know I want to hear a little bit more about. I want to know your opinion on a little bit more since you've had some time with it. Tell us about the Mini 130 and your thoughts as to how it's been so far for you.
I mean, aside from putting it together, I don't really have much else to go over. I mean, I have a bunch of other ARS racks, and I really like them. So, it's going to work the same exact way. The other ones have worked. Our first clutch is due to hatch in June, like the first or second week of June. So that'll be like our first time actually like using it and like plugging in the heat and everything else. But I really like it, and I really look forward to using it because I just like the fact that I can fit a lot more in there. Like, I mean, I don't really want to like prop this guy off, but do I even have the ability to change my camera angle here?
That is a good question. I've never tried to do it.
So I already have like a whole wall of the 10 series right here.
Okay.
Minus my copy thing. But I already have a whole wall of like the 10 series. And then over on the other wall, that's where I have my the mini one. So yeah, so basically I can just use that mini and I can fit 130 animals in that one spot, in that one wall, versus like my entire like 26, 28 foot wall that's right here that has, 180 slots. Wait, 160.
Okay. See, that's one thing. Like I've been jumping back and forth because I also saw that they just that they teased. It's like the half rack of the 130. It's like I forget what they called it, the mini. What was it, 65 or something mini 60, something like that.
Yeah, all it is just one panel instead of two, because whenever you put these together, you have 2 panels that go along like each thing. So instead of like, like your 10 series rack there, where it's like every single thing you had to put together, on this it's literally just 2 sheets that you put right next to each other, and that's the entire top. So that's the entire top for like the sliders, the ventilation, and the backing, all in one fell swoop.
Dude, I wonder if they're gonna do like kind of reinvent all their.
They're already doing that for the 1065. They have it. They're calling it the 1065 EZ.
Oh, okay.
So they're doing the same exact thing for the 10 series rack, but too late. I've already put in thousands of screws putting those together. So
you mean you don't want to go back and redo it?
no, because right now I think, like I said, we have space for 290 babies. If I need more than that for whatever reason, I would just get another one of the 130s. And then I would probably split it and then just put it like right back behind me and use it as like a table and do like, half height, 10, however many levels, up, you know what I mean? So it's like 6 or 7 levels, whatever, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Probably like 7 levels a piece, 6 levels a piece, and then just make it like waist height and then just use it as a table.
See, that's Nathan has something similar. I think he did his with his, is it a 50 series? It's either his 50 or his 55 series, but it goes up so far and then he's got a tabletop on it. It's really freaking nice. Definitely, It made me think of, something I want to do now. Like right now, because originally I had like a card table. I put the computer on, all that crap, and had to prop it up on tubs and all that shit. Since the carpets are now, and okay, it's on a 70-30. All right, awesome. Thanks, Nate. Since the carpets are now in the PVC enclosures, I took the homemade thing that I had built that they were on, and I'm now using that as like a table for now anyway. And it seems to be working. Excuse me. I'm not shaking the table like crazy like I was, so I'm very, very happy at the moment with it. So like anyway, back to the mini 130. I was thinking about doing that, but then I had also been throwing around in my head like, it's gonna be tubs that size are like basically like just temporary. You know what I mean? Because the hatchlings aren't gonna be in there that long. So what had me think is like, do I want to do like a sea serpent thing? And,
the cost per tub is going to be less.
For the sea serpents, you mean?
No, for the mini 130.
Oh, really?
Because like the mini 130, like you could house an animal in there that's probably like 300-400 grams, like pretty easily.
Oh, okay.
So it's like they'll be in there for like a decent while, versus, like, just like, and they're about they're half as wide as like the 10 series. So you figure they might be a little bit snug, but ideally all your stuff would sell before it hits 300 to 400 grams, or, hopefully most of it would sell. And, so you just use that 130 for all the babies up until they get to that size. And then, at that point you have that whole 1065. So if you need space for bigger animals to move up and move over, you already have that option. So that's the way I look at it, because, especially like, how tiny is like a baby carpet python? It's like a baby carpet python could live in one of those things for a good minute.
It'd be in there for a while.
So it's like, it may be a smaller tub, but you can get a lot of use out of it, especially for the fact of how long you have it, because the cost of like a sea serpents to house 130 babies would be like insane. And I just don't like, I've had the plastic racks and I bought them before, but at the end of the day, like if I could go back and change one thing, I would have bought like ARS or Freedom Breeder racks from the beginning and just bypass that whole plastic rack thing, because you get like, you'll have them like break, you'll have like tubs that are sliding over the heat, and then that's what causes problems, that's what causes melting, that's what causes like mishaps and issues. It's like the heat, because like you're literally regulating one giant like rope of heat tape that's serpentining through the entire rack. You're getting some hot spots, some cool spots. So it's like there's so many like little problems that add up to potentially cause bigger problems, that at the end of the day, it's just worth getting a ARS or Freedom Breeder. Like it really just is. Like they're like the racks that I have, like there's no reason whatsoever that these are not going to last until I, can't keep snakes anymore for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like they're tanks.
Well, I know one, like originally when I designed this room, everybody gives me shit for all the outlets, and everybody, you can't see all the outlets now. But anyway, uh, like I had originally designed the whole room to work off of TGR racks, and
But
you
see,
know,
that's the other thing, right? Like, same thing with like that pack rack dude. Like that dude is like silent now. Like I've seen
that's
some stuff, and because it's like there were problems with the orders, like the shipment overseas. Like there was like weird little manufacturing problems, right? And it's like at the end of the day, and I told him too, I was like, dude, like if you were making those for ARS tubs or for Freedom Breeder tubs, I would buy them because I like the little like lid attachment, like that whole thing that he had going on. But the bigger problem is I think he tried to manufacture his own tubs, which is a problem because like like all these places, like AP is also guilty of this. Like AP uses like container store tubs and all these like
oh,
well I mean like that's how they build their racks to fit these specific Sterilite tubs and whatever else, right? The issue is what happens when Sterilite decides to change their model? What happens when they decide to lower it by like a half an inch because they can save on plastic?
that's
Now all of
true.
a sudden you cannot get a replacement. Meanwhile, ARS, Freedom Breeder, like they're going to continue making their 50 series, their 55 series, their 70 series, and they're all going to be the same because all of their customers are going to come back for them for additional tubs and whatever else if they need to get them for whatever reason. So it's like that's like another reason why I would probably not have another plastic rack with the exception of like a quarantine rack or something like that, because it's like that you only need however many slots and then you just put them in there, you do your little like due diligence for mites and whatever else. And then, once they pass their little, their little chunk of time, then they make their way down into like the main collection area.
Yeah, that's true. Like you do make a lot of good points on that one, and I also forgot all about the pack rack stuff. Like you like, yeah, he was all over the place there for a while, and I haven't heard anything about him at all.
Yeah. It
Uh,
sucks too because it was a really cool idea.
it was
So
like
it's
you
like
said. I did like the design of it. Well, you said, I
like
mean,
if you have colubrids and you need to put them down for like brumation or something, you just pop that whole unit out, put like a little like zip tie on there, put that sucker in the garage or in a closet somewhere, and let them hang out for 90 days or however long it is, and then pull them back out, and you're done. It's like in that aspect, it's a pretty neat design. Or if venomous or whatever else, like there are some cool features with that, but trying to do your own tub, do your own thing, just for like I don't know, I don't want to say ego, but that's the only thing I could think of it, right? Is like you want to do it because it's like you're creating your own deal. And
yeah,
it's like there's a reason why like the Freedom Breeder tubs and the ARS tubs are so popular. It's because they're like the perfect size. They're built perfectly as far as like the size wise. I mean, the rounded corners, the depth. I mean, there's the non-slick or the non-stick surface, like how slick they are. I mean, and ceramic heaters suck.
I say, yeah,
I mean,
I
there's no
don't.
nice way to put it. It's gonna dry out your enclosure, and then unless you have like a little like cage or something around it, it allows the animal to potentially have access to that heat source and then burn the hell out of themselves.
Yeah,
The
I don't
only
use
the
ceramic.
only the only like caveat to that is if it's like a monitor or something like that, and then you need it to get like 130 degrees because they're friggin' crazy animals.
All I use for a heat seeker is the heat panels for the carpets now, and then just the heat panels for the ARS racks. I don't do anything ceramic. Even when they were in glass enclosures or glass like terrarium stuff, I never used anything ceramic. Cartafega, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. KG says you can also use ARS and Freedom Breeder tubs with rodents. Yes, you can. Uh, let's see. Tell us all the different types of species you're working with, Brandon, because then I want to dive into a little bit of everything into all of those.
Well, it started with the boas. So I've produced boas, like I said, since like 2007, kind of off and on with kind of spotty success. Sometimes it'd work well, sometimes it wouldn't work well. And then it would work like okay, and then it wouldn't work at all, and then it would work really well. And then, it's like kind of hit or miss with the boas. But so I've got boas. I tried breeding the berms, but my male, I think he's a little gay. He wants nothing to do with the lady. So we'll see. But I got a couple pairs of those. So in the next like 2 or 3 years, we'll potentially have more attempts at the berms.
Okay.
I have currently a couple of blood pythons, and I'm expecting my first clutch of those this year as well. She had her ovulation like a week and a half ago or so. And then I've got the pine snakes, and then the ball pythons. So boas, berms, bloods, balls, pine snakes. I think that covers it.
You were saying about on how the boas are hard to breed. Now I know my buddy Mike was telling me the same thing. He didn't really go into a whole lot of depth with me as to what makes them so much of I don't want to say difficult, but a pain in the ass. Basically, it sounds like
those words are interchangeable. I'd use some more colorful ones, but
what about them is so much more unpredictable, difficult? Like tell us a little bit.
There's a couple factors, and it's not to say anything negative about the boas, but for instance, like I've accomplished more in the 2 years that I've produced ball python. Like I picked up my first ball pythons in like 2019 or so. 2018, 2019. So I've had them for a bit. And I produced one clutch in 21, and then I produced 18 last year. And I've done more with the ball python since I got them starting in 2019 than I've done with the boas since having them and producing them since 2007.
Oh, okay.
So part of it's like reliability. It's like the ball pythons, like they're just much easier to breed. And people can, say what they want to say about that. It just is what it is. Like the ball pythons feel like so nice to breed because of all the heartache from the boas. So with the boas, you have to do a bunch of temperature cycling. You have to do temperature cycling, light cycling. So it's like starting in like October, November, you're like lowering the temperature down to like a day, like basically like an ambient temperature of say like 75.
Oh, okay.
And like, just in general, and then you can give them like a little bit of a hot spot during the day. But overall, you're slowly cranking that temperature down from like a 90 degree to like, 70, like a 95, 90, 90, whatever degree hot spot. And with like a reasonable ambient to like a mid 70s kind of temperature, over the course of like a couple of weeks. And then you're introducing them, and then you're throwing the male in there, and you're kind of hoping for the best. You're putting him in there. You're hoping that he wants to breed, or you're hoping that he wants to like copulate and do everything else. And then you're keeping them in there for 3-4 months at a time, basically, with the exception of pulling them for feeding. And then you could do all of those things. And, the male could maybe breed the female if he wants to. And this is also after raising them up for 3 to 5 years to breed them.
That's the part that sucks, in my opinion, is that weight. I mean, I've got the weight for the carpets, but
so it's like you got to raise these male. Like you could get a male to breed at like 18 months, maybe. You could probably get them to breed at 2 years old, but most of the time it's going to be like a 2 to 3 year old male and like a 3 to 5 year old female. I mean, that just is what it is. It just takes a long time for the boas, and then. You could also have a situation where everything goes fine. You see, like I've only seen a couple of my boas ovulate out of the ones that I've, that have produced.
Yeah.
And so it's like you maybe catch an ovulation, maybe not, probably not. So you think you got an ovulation. So maybe you pull the male too early. And now, instead now it was like a pre-ovulation swell. It wasn't an actual ovulation. So now it's like she doesn't have enough of that baby juice in there to, see it the rest of the way. It's just, so it's like turn after turn of like trouble.
Okay.
Or potential trouble. And some people, they have it down packed. They just do. And, some people, maybe their room is set up a certain way. And Another thing I will say too is generally, speaking too, like animals that have been in your collection for, their life appear to do better. So a lot of the guys that are super successful with the boas, they're producing from babies that they've produced. You know what I mean? It's like multi-generational. So I feel like they have a lot more success because of that.
Yeah. No, that makes
And some
sense.
people just suck at it, and I probably just suck at breeding boas.
Dude,
Which is, so it's like I just want to have like a couple of cool projects, producing some cool blood boas, producing some cool like leopard boas, and that's it.
okay. I know like Mike was was having some really killer seasons there. And then last
Feast or
season,
famine.
yeah, well, he definitely hit a famine last year because he only had one clutch, and I think he only had 3 babies out of that one clutch. Everything else was slugs, and 2 out of the 3 died. So he was left with 1 baby for sale. And I think he's even started to downsize his boa stuff too. I think he's kind of working his way out of it slowly, possibly. I don't know. He didn't do any breeding this year. I tried to con him so hard into it. It's like, dude, just do 1 clutch, or not clutch, but 1 litter. I was like, I told him, dude, it's like, at least make somebody pay for all those rats you're feeding them. And he's just like, he didn't want to take the risk.
Well, my one chance this year, she slugged out last week.
Oh man, that's
so I only tried 1 pairing, and she slugged out, and I got an ovulation from her. Like, it was an ovulation. And, because I'd followed, everything with like ultrasound, you know what I mean? Like, I knew where she was at follicle wise when she was, nice and thick. So I knew that, things were going the way that they should go. And then I was like, okay, well, here's the ovulation. 2 weeks after that, she had a shed. So I was like, everything is on the up and up. And then, last week, like 20 slugs. So.
Oh man, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
And just like Phil said, it's like it'll break your heart, and it's like, and it does suck because you'll be like, man, like this is going to be so awesome. I'm going to have like X, Y, and Z, and they're just going to be so nice. And then it's like you open up the tub to, find a bunch of slugs, or, like last year I bred my my blood male to my fire female to produce some fire het for bloods, and again, massive ovulation, huge ovulation. Thought everything was fine. She slugged out, and 2 weeks later she died. Like, that's like a thing with boas.
That's one thing I did notice with Mike too. Like, he was going on huge spells where he had adults just dying out of nowhere. I think the one last year, I think he lost
a lot of that. I think can come down to like the whole twisted oviduct thing, because like if they're breeding and then they get into that ovulation position, just at that point where they're going to ovulate, something's, things are moving around, like something in like ultrasound that, used to like scan for is like testicular torsion or ovarian torsion. Okay. And that's when like the testicles or the ovaries kind of twist. And then what happens is the arteries and the veins kind of pinch each other off. So basically the ovary or testicle becomes like necrotic and whatever else. So it's like that, obviously can lead to some serious problems. In like a person, you're going to know because it's going to hurt and whatever else. You're going to go to the doctor. They're going to try and fix you up or whatever. Yeah. But in like the snakes, those things, it's like, they don't really seem to show. Well, I mean, it's not like we're out here, poking them with shit to see if they're in pain or anything. But it's like they don't really show like they're in pain. So it's like, how do you know? So it's like they could be just sitting there fine, hanging out, and little do you know, it's like that thing is inside their body that's all screwed up. And then just one day they just keel over. It just happens. And knock on wood, I have not had that problem with ball pythons.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. The only issue that I've had with the ball pythons is one of my females last year. She retained an egg. She had like 7 or 8. I can't even remember the clutch size. Like 7 or 8 or something like that. She retained one. She wasn't actively trying to push anything out. It was just there. And from everybody that I talked to, they just basically said to leave her alone. Basically just let her just hang out and just, she'll figure it out. Unless she was actively trying to get it out of her body. You know what I mean? Yeah. And sure enough, like her babies like hatched like from the incubator before she like pooped out that like slug. And by the time she pooped it out, it like had shriveled down. It was like a tiny little like thing, and it was just all shriveled and hard. But she just one day pooped it out, and she was eating the whole time and doing everything she needed to do. And just one day she just pooped it out.
That's weird. I would have thought that there would have been some major issues popping up for holding on to them that freaking long. Holy crap.
I mean, you figure that happens in the wild, right? Like, I mean, sometimes they don't get them all out, so they just sit in there and then they go. Like, that's another thing that can happen with boas too, is like you can have a female that goes 1 year, and then you maybe try breeding her the next year or the following year, because a lot of people kind of do like an every other kind of deal.
Yeah.
And you could potentially have a boa that retains a slug inside their body, and then whenever they try and pass the babies, what'll happen is that slug will block the vent, and then all of that pressure in there basically pops the egg sacs that the babies are in, and then they all drown inside of the female, and then she ends up dying. That never happened to me, but that did happen to several of my like boa buddies.
Okay.
Because it's like that slug just blocks it. So yeah, the female tries to like push the babies out, but they can't come out because that slug is blocking the exit. And then basically all that pressure, all those egg sacs that they're in just, rupture, and then they just basically drown inside the female. The female like hemorrhages out because of whatever, because she's probably pushing too hard or whatever. I mean, it's crazy.
I've never heard of that, man, but holy crap.
So count your blessings with the pythons.
Yeah, that's definitely shedding a whole new light onto that whole aspect of it. I didn't never would have imagined that many issues to be had with like the live birth and stuff. But it does make sense. I mean, I could see, female pushing like that, something blocking, and her just kind of
keeling over.
Yeah, I could see it. I've heard people saying that with carpet pythons, they've had them where, like, because carpets really like beehive their eggs really good.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say about how sometimes the moms will beehive them too much and kind of push them together too hard, and she'll start breaking the eggs in the coils.
That's crazy.
So, ball pythons probably might be the safest thing to breed. So now with the berms, because I want to cover the more not as typical stuff first before we dive into the balls. But with the berms, now what's your pairings like? Those look like what like types of genetics are you working with the berms?
So the big old heifer that I had out earlier that I showed you, she was a green granite or a hypogranite het for green.
Okay.
And then I have a green granite male. So basically the goal there is to just produce some hypo green granites. They're just really pretty, really the green granites are almost patternless. I mean, they're like a giant pickle, basically, is what they look like. And then the hypo green granites are kind of like almost a giant banana. Like they're very soft yellow to a degree.
Okay.
But the granites, they have a lot of contrast. So whenever you get green and granite together, that kind of almost blanks it out to a degree. But like the hypo granites are really pretty. The hypo greens are like super pretty. I mean, it's just a beautiful looking animal. So that's one that I was, wanting to try this year, but who knows? The male just, again, doesn't really seem like he wants to do nothing with her. And then I also have a caramel female, which she's really cool. Like the caramel berms are just awesome looking. And then I have a hypo het labyrinth with them, which I'm probably going to get rid of just because I know I'm not going to be able to find the male that I want for her. And I also want to kind of limit the berm stuff as best I can. And then
what makes the male so hard to find for her?
It's just the one that I would want to. So the male that I would want to have would be a caramel labyrinth, just so I can make some labyrinths het for caramel. But I already have a caramel female, so if I do get a labyrinth caramel, then I could just make all caramels het for labyrinth. So it's just one of those things where it's like one female is potentially better than the other as far as what my goals are. And at the end of the day, and then my last pairing, I'll just get that before I get to the point, is it's a male triple het for caramel, pied, and granite. and then the female's an albino het for pied caramel and granite. So I can basically make some caramel pied berms and caramel granite pied berms. In a perfect world, I would probably just make a caramel pied, and then I would be able to take that back to whatever females that I have. But I would only probably breed the berms like once every couple of years, just because I don't really care. Like, I just want to produce, and I want to have like an amazing, beautiful caramel pied, for myself, right?
Yeah.
And then if I breed them like every 2 or 3 years or whatever, produce a couple of cool snakes, and then it's like, one, you're responsibly producing because they can have a decent number of eggs. But two, you're basically just being able to offset the cost of food, the cost of housing, and all that other stuff for them, and then still be able to just enjoy the animals. So
now, how many eggs does a berm have? Because I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea. I've never really researched berms at all.
I mean, it depends on like the size of the females, right? Because it's like some of them could have, less than 20, but then you had that one that they found in the Everglades that had like 60 something in there. But that was also a friggin' monster of a snake. You know what I mean? So it's like my female that I had out earlier, like I've seen, there's that dude, Jason's Exotic Reptiles. He shows a lot of berm stuff on his YouTube channel.
Okay.
And, he'll, talk about these females had like 20 eggs or 25 eggs or something like that. So basically the size of what would be like a good sized boa litter, like a Colombian boa litter, and that's probably more the average. It's those like monster animals, like the ones that, Prehistoric Death is always producing with the big old retics, where it's like 50 eggs or some ungodly number. You know what I mean? It's like, those are because those animals are just freakishly large.
They're just freaks of nature.
Yeah.
Now, because I imagine, and I might be wrong on this, I imagine that the market, it's a more of a niche market probably for the berms just because of the size, or is the berm market kind of, I don't want to say easy, but how do I?
Well, there's other people that have a better opportunity to tell you about that, because I haven't really sold any berms.
Okay.
So it's like I've sold like a few here and there that I've gotten, and then I've been like, maybe I'll go this way instead or whatever. But like Dylan out there in PA, he'd be a better, person to ask about that. Or I want to it's like DNS balls or something. I can't remember what his name was, but like not Dylan. Dylan is CBC. He goes to all the same shows we go to, like tall, skinny, blonde dude. If you seen him, you'd be like, oh, I know the face.
I've probably seen him if he was at Gettysburg and stuff.
He was literally diagonal from you at the last Gettysburg.
Okay, I probably did see him then.
But either way, though, he's been doing berms and stuff for like a long time, so he'd have a better gauge for that. But the way that I look at it is, the bigger the snake, the smaller the market to a degree. I would want to say, like, I mean, there's so many people that are into like corn snakes and stuff, right? Because I mean, they're so tiny. They're like a good little kind of pet snake, a good starter snake, whatever else. They don't need that much space to a degree. Ball python, same thing. They're not huge. The only drawback to the ball python is sometimes the feeding situation. A corn snake, once you get that thing onto frozen thawed, like, that's what it's going to eat. You know what I mean? They're not hard to keep on that schedule. So berms, I don't think that I'm going to have a huge problem with the stuff that I'm going to produce, but I'm also only going to produce a small number of them. Like, if I breed one year, I'm not going to breed the other ones, kind of deal. That way I'm only dealing with like one clutch of berms a year, and then it's like each year I'll maybe use like a different female.
Kind of,
and then I'll skip, and then
producing and
yeah, that's what, like, I know like a lot of people do with like the blood pythons as well, is they'll use a female every other year. So say if they have like 10 females, one year they'll use 5 females, the next year they'll use the other 5. And then in that in between time, those females, they have the time to, to just sit and relax,
recoup, which and get back to size. And
yeah, and it's like, so it gives the females an opportunity to kind of rebuild everything. But also it kind of protects the market a little bit. you know, like to a degree, like on some of the animals that are like more desirable, you know, it's like you're not necessarily flooding the market with the same exact thing that there's already plenty of. You know
That's
what I'm
true.
saying? So it's like there's a lot of factors that I consider about like some of that stuff.
D&K Reptiles, Derek, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, no, see, I guess I never. That is actually a smart way, I guess, to go about it. And plus, like you said, it helps you to not flood the market, which is one thing I think the ball python hobby is bad for. We're really good at flooding the market with the new hot and flashy genetic.
I don't know.
But
I'm like, I probably have like a not great opinion on some of that stuff, but like the short of it is that if everybody is trying to produce the same thing, there's going to be a lot of the same thing available.
yeah,
And why would I buy the same thing that I basically produced?
that's true.
Like if everybody's trying to make the same thing, you
Well,
know,
look at what happened with Desert Ghost. I mean, what, 2 years ago, Desert Ghost was like you couldn't find a freaking female, and
I
just
don't have any Desert Ghost Het clowns, any clowns Het Desert Ghost, or any double Het Desert Ghost clowns because I seen the sheer audacity of how many of those things were
going.
being like talked about and being created and being like whatever. And it's like I didn't want to like deal with that because what's going to happen is 2 years from now, which is what we're in now, everybody's producing just a straight Desert Ghost clown, and
Yep.
now the prices are like $6,000 versus 10. Like I went the Desert Ghost Pied route. Like that's the route that I went.
Okay.
And I mean all like and I mean and I have certain goals for that project, which I'm just gonna like, you know, keep to myself more or less. But at the end of the day, I'm, you know, in a lot of the projects I try and do, I do it like kind of balling on a budget. You know what I mean? It's like you like because you can get like a double het Desert Ghost Pied for not that much. We also like so it's like I've got like a Desert Ghost het or a double het Desert Ghost Pied, and then we got a like a super leopard pied het Desert Ghost as well. And then I've got like a couple other females that fit into that same kind of project or what I'm doing. But the male that I bought was a leopard pied het Desert Ghost, you know, and it's like, so he can easily service like the few females that I got for that project. I'm also not into it a stupid amount of money, you know, like even just like the three, like the leopard Desert Ghost het pied, the double het Desert Ghost pied, and then the leopard and then the leopard pied het Desert Ghost. Like I'm into that for not too bad, you know, and it's like by the time, you know, whenever I potentially breed them this year or next year, like because the male, he actually got his first lock last week with another female.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so this week I'm probably actually going to pair him with my female double het, you know, and just kind of see what happens because she's big enough, you know, so it's like we'll see. But it's like, you know, you just need to, you know, build things out in a good way, in a smart way, and you can make a come up, you know, without, you know, breaking the bank to a degree.
Yeah.
The big thing is that, you know, like in that video that I put out on the YouTube like this last week, it's like
Yeah.
the thing that changes that is if you want your results faster, right? So if I wanted results faster, I would have gotten a Desert Ghost Pied. But at the same time, it's like, what kind of codoms are you able to get into that? You know, it's like most of the things that are out there are just, you know, a straight Desert Ghost Pied with like no codominant genes. That's why I got Leopard in there because Leopard does so much. Like Leopard adds so much contrast. It adds so much darkness. I mean, it does like a lot of really good things, you know? So it's like, I mean, there's just so many different options. Like whenever I eventually do, you know, get into or start making stuff for like a Desert Ghost Clown project, like it's going to have like spot nose or it's going to have chocolate or it's going to have some sort of like gene that makes them really dark, you know, because it's like the darker they are, I feel like the better the better the Desert Ghost combos turn out for sure. But on top of that, just clown combos in general, I think the darker clown combos just look way better.
I
The
agree with
bright
you.
ones all turn out to be almost the same shade of yellow.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that one. Desert Ghost, like I love what DG does with the blacks, like just like you said with the dark stuff. That's one reason why I'm excited to get it into my Exantic stuff. Like now I've got the double head Exantic DG stuff growing up from this season. It's like my mind's just going wild now. It's like, all right, what am I? Where am I going to take this after I hit this? So I'm already planning out those future projects with it. Because I think like DG and Exantic is that they're like the perfect combination.
I know they are for a great contrast, like black and white animal for sure. And there's again like ideas that I have for that stuff, but it's ideas, and those are things that last year every single clutch that I had, I was like this pairing to this pairing, this pairing to this pairing, and it's like I was like really like excited to like kind of share that. But then like after that, like this year, I'm kind of like, maybe I'm just not going to share any of that. maybe I'm going to pull like a Levance thing, like a straight fire thing. Maybe I'll just keep this stuff all to my lonesome self and then bore my fiance with if we take this to this and we do this to that and whatever else. And then she'll just be sitting there like, yes, that sounds awesome. It's like, it's just one of those things. It's like, I have ideas and it's like, I'm sure someone else has thought about them, but if they haven't, I don't want to give them the idea to think about them.
Yep. No,
so it's like some stuff I'm more like guarded to say just because now I just feel like it's like my potential like one up on producing X, Y, or Z is to like have the forethought to think of doing whatever,
Yeah, no, I get you on that. Aaron, what's up, dude? Thanks for tuning in. Phil said something up here. Phil said about when billion
Batmans. Yeah.
I tell you what, I mean, Batman's got produced out the wazoo. But man, they are still beautiful. Look, I got one this year from Danny there, DTMG. Dude, the thing's freaking awesome. I love it. And
leopard clowns are awesome. So yeah, it's like throwing spot nose in there. It's like, why not? And again, it's a dark clown combo. Same thing with like the Dark Knight, like the spot nose chocolate clown. Like those, like they're a dark clown combo that stays looking amazing, right?
Yeah.
Now, maybe change the color,
That's where I'm going with it. I'm throwing, because that was actually the main purpose of even buying that Batman is this, 2024 season, he's probably going to at least 2, if not 3 Exantic females. Just because I want to make sure I get
good odds,
the odds of my favorite to hit the Bruce Wayne. And like my luck sucks. I know how my luck would be, and everyone, if I would only do one pairing,
throw Bruce it to the wall, see what sticks. Yeah, see how many females you can get for yourself.
Yep, it's basically exactly where I'm going with it, and like super. I mean, there is one female I could throw him to, and possibly get a visual Batman. That would be 66% head Exantic, but I could probably play that game too, but then no, my luck would be I'd get a Batman and it wouldn't be Exantic at all, or head Exantic at all.
Yeah.
Aaron says mahogany Batman won't touch the ladies. Oh man, that would drive me nuts. I've actually, I still have to do the video on it, but I brought home I'll spill the beans on one of them. Brought home a pastel red stripe female from Nathan. Got her from him at the barbecue there, Chris from B&S. And all through the ultrasound and all the girls that I got from Nathan there at the barbecue, this pastel red stripe is actually building follicles. She's at like 8 or 9 mil, I forget. So now I say, okay, originally my plan was to throw the Batman to her because I want to we're kind of working that direction of maybe trying to hit like a Pompeii Batman type of deal. But now since she's ready to go, like basically now, and the Batman isn't quite ready yet, it's like, crap. It's like, now what the hell can I throw to her? So I'm still trying to figure that one out at the moment.
I mean, I'm sure an Exanthic red stripe would look pretty good.
See, that's what I was kind of
I know there's at the end of the day, there's so many different options. Like for me, like I picked up a while ago that was in that video was a Cypress red stripe. Like Cypress red stripes are super pretty, super simple. Yeah, they're super pretty and they're super simple. So it's like if you make that, but you like the lavender version of that looks wild. Like an ultramel Cypress red stripe would look crazy. Like there's so many things you could do to like potentially break up that pattern or do it in different colors and different shades. And it's like, so there's really like a lot of different ways that you would be able to take that animal. I mean, I'm not sure like what your males are looking like, but it's having some sort of animal that is, even like the hypo red stripes, like those look like really cool. It's like, it doesn't have to be like the craziest thing in the world, but you could make like a nice little piece of something that you could raise up to use for something down the road.
That's true. Like, it's funny you said about the hypo stuff. All the hypo I have is in the females. Like my males, I'm not gonna lie, are really lacking. That's actually something I need to work on this season, is improving the males that are here. I'm kind of in that process of realizing some of my errors in the beginning and slowly transitioning.
Yeah.
But I need to, because I was thinking about that today as well. That's like for my Exanthic stuff, it's like, the best that I could do right now is without, throwing like the Batman into something and making hets through that. But like visual Exanthic males, I just produced. Like I don't have any, Exanthic and really any other males except for I've got my Bumblebee double head Exanthic clown. But
so here's like a thing that you could think about that might be beneficial, right?
Okay.
It's like think about how you could use something like genetic testing to your advantage, right? So I mean, I know you work with like the Snake Keeper Exanthic, and it's like I have the VPI and the Black Exanthic, so I'm not sure what's out there available for Snake Keeper or what it costs, but I would think that you could potentially find an Exanthic that's het for clown, right, for a pretty reasonable price. Because an Exanthic clown, I mean, like I have one coming from Juggernaut Reptiles from Elijah.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, I got a female from him. She's awesome, but I feel like that male would be really useful here. But those bastards are not cheap. They're very expensive. And, so you could potentially find an Exanthic het for clown male that you could breed to that red stripe female and then just genetically test whatever females you end up getting out of the deal, and hopefully you hit a red stripe, right?
Yeah.
And then it's a lot of hope, right? It's a lot of hope and prayer that you hit a red stripe, that red stripe is also a female, and that red stripe is also proving het for clown. You know what I mean? Yeah. But at the end of the day, though, you could potentially have some cool stuff. And then you also get a co-dominant gene in there. So if your males that you made this year didn't have anything, now all of a sudden you have like red stripe in one of your, male that you produced maybe. So it's like, it's just one of those things where you could, again, just kind of ball on a budget, right? It's like you could get something that's like fairly inexpensive, kind of hope for the odds. And of course, like it kind of sucks because at the end of the day, like, okay, well now you just produced some het Exanthics that are basically like pets, which there's nothing wrong with, but you could potentially end up having to wholesale or do something with like half of the clutch. And then the other half of the clutch, though, is going to be super valuable to you in the future, both males and females.
That is true. I do need to sit back and kind of reanalyze stuff. I know like what you're saying with the genetic testing thing. That's what I'm doing with the visual Exanthics that I just hatched here from Clutch 2. Is everything is 50% het clown. So I'm definitely getting all of those, all the males and all the females that are visual Exanthics tested. The stuff that isn't visual, though, I'm not going to bother testing. It was actually there was 3 Bumblebee 3 bumblebees, and they were all males. Nathan, no, I have a Bruce Wayne female from Danny. The only male that I got from Danny is that Batman that's either got red stripe or yellow belly in him. Which we're not sure which one it is yet. But anyway, yeah. So I've got all those growing up that I need to get them shed tested. But I don't know your thoughts. Like, who do you use for your shed test? Because I tried that RGI. Is it RGI? The one that's through the market. And I'm not sold on them. Like they kind of got me. Like, because I did the yellow belly asphalt test through them, and right before I got my results, they took the test down, saying due to errors. And then
that was like early on whenever they. Yeah, that was early on, and I guess they had issues with that stuff. I mean, they did the same thing with Ultramel.
Yeah,
which just happens. But so I got kind of 2 thoughts on this. Is that for the, I don't know, it's like I try and say it without it sounding bad, but if it's something that I'm going to sell as a het whatever or a not het whatever, I would prefer to have that done through RGI.
Oh, okay.
Because it's scientists, actual like genetic scientists and whatever else that are sending it to a lab, and it's like, and I spoke with Charlie, that's his name, right? Charlie over at Gray's.
Yeah, Charlie there at Gray Rider. He's going to be on here.
So I spoke with him the other day because I have some het sunsets that are possible het candy, and a buddy of mine, he's actually going to pick up 2 het sunset females from me in like a group of stuff. And so I need to test the other, because I've got 3 het sunset females left, right? And so I have to test these other 2 because the other one turned out negative. So I have these other 2. And I would like them both to test het, but if they don't, it's like one of them is going to go to my buddy, and then one of them is still going to be sold, But so for that instance, I'm going to send them, over to him because it'll probably be a quicker turnaround, right? And I just need to know if it is or is not het so I can sell it to my buddy. If it's something, again, that I'm potentially going to keep for myself, like I have some Enchi Leopard double het Desert Ghost pieds that I just have sheds for, and I just have been like lazy and have not ordered whatever for. So it's like I'm also going to test those for hypo because they're all possible hypo because of my male. So it's like I would obviously keep back whichever females are triple het versus the females that are double het.
Yeah.
And I don't mind keeping all 3 back. I really don't care. But at the end, but I'm going to probably also send those over to Charlie because that's for me, for like stuff that I plan on keeping, right? If it's something that I plan on selling, I would do it through them just because at that point there's a database, right? So if I send a shed into RGI, they now have that animal's DNA, like that animal. Like, so if I sell you that snake and you get it, and then for some reason, some shifty stuff happens or whatever crazy happens, you could send that shed also to RGI and you could confirm that that's the same animal.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe he had, maybe they have something set up like that. I mean, I don't know, exactly, because that's not my like concern there, but I know that they do that at RGI. Like I know that they have that stuff on there. So if I send that sample in, if you send in that same animal sample, like they could basically match it and say, hey, this is the same animal. So it's like so there's a level of legitimacy of a company or corporation or whatever that's doing something versus like a dude that's been figuring it out. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's like an expensive like science experiment, but at the end of the day, it kind of is a science experiment versus sending it to like a lab and them having like an actual like laboratory facility where they're processing DNA and doing all that stuff. You know what I mean?
I see exactly where you're coming from. I think Charlie, though, I think he is. I could be wrong because he's not in the. I haven't seen him in the chat at least. I do think his background is
Isn't he like
working
a firefighter?
I thought he had to do something with like forensics. I thought he like. I think
you
he.
can tell how
I
much
think
I've talked to the guy. But
I mean, I haven't really talked. This is just from different things that I've kind of picked up through other people talking, but it almost sounded like his background is police dealing with like forensics aspect. So maybe I'm wrong. Okay, Phil's saying he's a cop. So I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was cop. Yeah, I knew it was like firefighter, cop, like one of the two. But either way, though, he's not like a PhD scientist.
Well, no, that may be true.
You know what I mean? And it's like at the end of the day, like if I'm sending something to somebody and I'm saying that it carries a gene that it is supposed to have, like I just want to have some sort of backing from like a larger company or larger entity. Because it's like I know, like I procured the shed properly. I dried it out. I put it in the little baggie. I labeled it. I did all that stuff. I sent it to them. Like in like the hospital, or say like even for us, like in my like ultrasound job. It's like we have to clean all the equipment. We have to like clean the bed, clean the probes, clean all the stuff. There's like a certain level of everything that's supposed to happen within like a lab, so that way you're not having like cross contamination. And I'm sure he's doing the best practices there, but at the end of the day, like an actual lab that does that, an 8-hour workday is going to have, like a little bit smoother of an operation if I'm going to be putting something out there for someone to sell, like I said, or to purchase. Like I said, if I plan on doing it all for myself, it's a much faster turnaround to send it over to him and have him do it. And I just haven't done it yet. But like I said, we talked about it the other day. I've got like 6 or 7 sheds that I plan on sending him to test for a couple different things. Mostly it's the het candies and then the het hypos, because I know those are 2 that he can do there because they don't require the extra stuff. I caught him on a podcast the other day or whatever where he was talking about it. And he cannot do clown, like physically himself. He cannot do it because there's like a certain thing that needs to be done to test for clown that he just cannot do with the equipment that he has.
I've been talking to him, or I shouldn't say, I haven't been talking to him, but whenever he's in the chat and stuff, I give him a little bit of crap on how he's got to get that clown tested in the works here, so that way I know what the hell's going on with this Xanax clutch.
Yeah. So
maybe
I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, there's do what?
As maybe I just gotta bite the bullet and give RGI another shot once, and
yeah, there's just limitations to people that are doing stuff like in their own place. I mean, that's just all it comes down to. You don't have like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of machines to like run all this stuff and do all this stuff. And I mean, that's also why they wait until they have like 100 or something sheds to like batch test, is because of all the cost and everything else that is required within that.
Oh, that's true. Aaron's asking what's his cost. Aaron, I don't know the exact cost.
I want to say he's like 10 or 15 bucks cheaper than RGI.
Yeah, I do think he's some reason I want to say he's 40's ringing a bell.
It's like slightly more affordable. I want to say it's. Yeah, so but either way, it's like slightly more cost effective, which is again like another reason why if I'm doing it for myself, if I'm doing it to like test to see if it's stuff that I'm going to potentially just keep or sell, it's like if it tests negative, it's like I don't mind selling it as tested negative, by him. But if I'm going to sell something that's testing positive for a gene that I'm trying to sell, I would probably just bite the bullet and repay for a test to get it done through RGI. So there's at least like a chain of custody or chain of, whatever to basically prove that it is in fact het. And then if someone needs to, they can send that animal shed right back in and prove that it's het. So, and the same animal for that case too.
That's true. The whole database thing, I never thought about that. That is a good point. Matt here says it's $50. So yeah, that's not that bad though. I think RGI is what, 65. So I think it's
Yeah.
60 or 65 when I did.
It's like 65 plus like 25 if you add like a second gene on there.
Yeah, there was different.
But then at the end of the day, though, I mean, don't get me wrong, it gets very expensive because the first like batch that we sent in, it was like over $1,000 that I spent on testing.
Oh,
and then,
wow.
But yeah, but think about it though, right? Like I showed you the sibling earlier when I was seeing if any animals would actually show up decent on here.
Yeah.
It's like that banana leopard clown, like the fire banana leopard clown proved out het for pied. I still have to send the shed in for this one to see if it's het for pied. But it's like that went from like a fire Gotham, would go for to now it's a fire Gotham het for pied. So it's like just the value in that one animal paid for the rest of them. So it's like, I mean, it just is what it is. So it's like cost of doing business. It's like you figure that out, and it's like, I had like so far all of the het sunsets that are possible het for candy. Every single one of them is tested negative.
Oh, okay.
Every one of them, and I've sent in like 5 sheds, and every single one of them is tested negative. So it's like, but I had like other ones that tested positive. Like I had 4 double het ultramel clowns that were all possible het pied. 2 of those 4 turned out het for pied. So it's now I have 2 triple hets and 2 double hets. It pays for itself.
That's true. And I guess it all evens out in the end.
And you save 2 to 3 years raising those things up.
That's true. There's the big thing. Time is money, and you can't get back your time. Lindsay, what's up?
Yeah,
Thanks for tuning in. Lindsay will be on the show here a couple weeks before the barbecue, so looking forward to that. And Lindsay is actually coming out to the barbecue. Are you coming to the barbecue, Brandon?
That's the plan. I know, like Chris's, it was just like bad communication, but also I didn't realize how damn far he was. Dude's like 3-something hours away from me. I'm hoping that you're mildly closer.
Oh, dude, how far is Gettysburg for you?
30 minutes.
All right, I'm maybe an hour and 30 then from you.
So it's still like, so I think you're like an hour closer than what Chris is.
Yeah. I'm in Lancaster County, so Gettysburg is literally like an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
I think we went up there. We did like a Christmas train ride kind of thing from, I think, that area where we got on some little like Santa caboose and
the Strasburg
rode that. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, dude, you were like that area is kind of where I grew up. And I'm actually a little bit farther west. I'm basically right on
slightly closer then. Yeah. So that's probably not too bad. Yeah, it was like, because when I was like looking at that, I was like, damn, man, it's like friggin' 6 hours of driving to and from to go out there. And then it was just like you have to be mentally prepared, I think, to drive that far.
You do.
I think, especially if you're doing like a round trip kind of deal.
Yeah.
So
it's a 2-hour long drive for us one way. I know I actually would have said about doing a carpool thing that you could have just rode with Dom and I. But since we were bringing back all these the 3 enclosures, some of all the gray tubs there, all those 5 tiers of the hatchling rack, brought all that home. It was like playing Jenga in the truck, dude. There was no space that was not taken up. Frank, what's up? Frank says busy day. Sean, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. Phil's gonna be there, dude. Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's picnic is gonna be fun. Like I said, Lindsay's coming supposedly. Adam from Proper Royals is gonna be here. We've got Jeff and Angie from Celtic Balls making the drive. It's a lot bigger than what I had ever expected this thing to become in just its second year. It's really cool to see people coming from such long ways just to come hang out, shoot the shit, and eat food and play cornhole and talk snakes. We've actually got quite a few people coming from New York too. So really, really cool. But I do hope you can come, Brandon, because I think you'll have a blast.
For sure.
Let's dive into your blood. Since we kind of got into the blood pythons there a little bit, I want to go back to them here at some point. But let's talk the blood pythons. What types, like, what are your blood python projects like? Because there's not many people that work with them, in my opinion. And I think a lot of that has to do with everybody thinking that they're these nippy, evil snakes, kind of half like carpets.
They're super. I mean, at least mine are super chill. Like I only have a couple now, and I have more that are coming. But so one thing like with the boas, just to kind of go back to those guys is like the true red tails and stuff do really well as far as like marketability and interest and whatever else. Like if you're producing like longicatas, like people want longicatas. If you're producing hog islands, people want hog islands. So with the blood boas or the blood pythons, it's kind of the same thing. Like you have people that specifically like and want, say like the chrome, blood python, like the chromes and like the black bloods.
Oh, I love
you have people that specifically want like the caramels, the Sumatran short-tail pythons. You have people that very specifically like those animals, and they're trying to do different breeding projects and different things to like line breed to produce like better and better ones. Like Elijah, from Juggernaut Reptiles, his black bloods that he makes, like his black, short-tail pythons, like those things are black. They're like, like an IMG boa black. Like they end up like pitch black with like orange eyes. Like they're beautiful animals. So it's like for me, like with the blood pythons, like this year, like I said, I only have like one pairing, and it's to produce magpies. So it's a golden eye to golden eye. So the magpies are almost a white-ish animal that has like black markings kind of around the face and the eyes.
Okay.
And as they age, they kind of get like a little bit of a pink, kind of like a khaki color to it, or not, maybe not khaki is the right way, but like a light, like beige, like an off-white with a little bit of like pink highlights. They're really pretty. So this year I'll ideally be producing those, and then I'm pretty far out from producing anything else with them other than those. But down the line, I would like to have, caramels, black, short-tail pythons. And then I would like to have T positive and T negative combos, because the T positive and the T negatives are like vastly different within like the blood pythons. The T negatives start out kind of, I wouldn't say ugly, but they're definitely muted. And then as they age, they gain like incredible contrast.
Oh, okay.
And then the T positives, they kind of start out, almost looking the same, but they get better. Like the blood pythons are one of those animals that definitely age into a better animal versus age, darker and uglier to a degree.
Yeah, they do. Well, I'm with you on that one. Bloods don't get worse as they age. If anything,
they get like way better. Yeah. And it's like, so that's where I see myself with those, is I just want to have like a small group of them that I do like, again, like a on and off again, kind of every other year thing. It's like maybe this year I'll produce, the snowstorm looks cool, but I don't really understand like all of it that goes into it. It's a beautiful animal though. It's like I want to say, if I like off the top of my head, I want to say it's like a super matrix, super golden eye. So it's basically an ivory golden eye or an ivory magpie that also has, I think, pollen, which is like this other interesting thing. And then like something else that's kind of allelic. I think like pollen and goldeneye are like kind of allelic with each other. It's like this interesting combo, but the animal itself is like beautiful. The one that he made, it looks awesome. But you are losing like a lot of pattern on that animal too. But you end up with an animal that as an adult is a very light white with black pattern, versus like where it changes into something where it's like off-white. So basically it's just creating like a cleaner type of animal. But in diving into some of these blood python morphs, some of them aren't necessarily morphs. They're just line breeding that's like gone so progressively well that it's now basically recognized as a mutation.
It's kind of like how the carpet world is then, with the different lines of like your highlighter lines of jungles and your wow lines and all that stuff. It's like separate lines, but it's still all one thing essentially.
Yeah, like Borneos are the ones that are like the best example for that, which is like the one blood python that I don't think I'm going to really mess with. And that's just and they're beautiful, but I'm still like kind of torn because there's like Blue Ghost, and then there's like Latte, and then there's like all these different names that are basically different animals from a similar project that have a different look.
Okay.
And it's like, and I just don't understand it enough, or want to really understand it enough. Like, I feel like I would have more than enough going on with working on specific T positive projects, T negative projects, caramel projects, and then the black short tail projects. Like, I already feel like I would have enough kind of going with those things to where I should just focus on those, and something where I understand the genetics a little bit more. And at the end of the day, it's just something that I like, and they're just really cool. And it's like, I like too many things, like that's kind of the problem. I like too many things, and I like the variety, and I like the different things that those have to offer, because a blood python is a bigger ball python, but a smaller Burmese python.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's still like a kind of heavy bodied animal, but it's not like too crazy, and it's like, and if you work with them and whatever else, and you keep them correctly, like they're fine, like temperament wise.
Yeah. No, the female I had I had a female red blood, and I had a chrome head black blood, and they were sweethearts. The female I had, the red blood, she was huge. She's like 6 foot long, like 26 pounds.
Yeah.
Beautiful. But man, I mean, I couldn't wrap my hands around her. She was a big girl. Big girl.
Oh yeah. They're thick, yeah.
I have pictures of Dom sitting right beside her. Like, she was on the bed, Dom was sitting right beside her, and he would have been, God, maybe 2 or 3, something like that. God, that was so long ago to even think about it, man. Like, Dom just turned 16, and I'm 36. So it would have been
a good while ago.
Yeah, it was ages ago. But man, I told Chris there from BNS, I told him that I do want to get another Sumatran, and it's got to be a chrome head. I've just got to get another one. I would love to have another red blood, but I think I want the chrome head more. Just they were just, I don't know, something about them. I think it's the darkness and then the white outlines on stuff. It just kind of really sat with me.
Maybe, I mean, they're almost like an Axanthic, basically.
I was just gonna say, maybe it's just that on how it's so close to the Axanthic look that I love. That's probably what it is, in all honesty. Sean says, haha, that's a problem for us all. I like too many things.
Yeah, now, it's dangerous.
Oh, it is, dude. It is. Now, how do you... I guess all the pythons have very general... For the most part, they have very similar house requirements for housing, temperature-wise, I should say. But now your colubrids, how do you work your colubrids and stuff? Because I would assume that they're probably on a different temperature scale, at least for the wintertime.
I only have a pair of the Mexican pines, so.
Oh, okay.
I literally just have them at the bottom of the rack, so it'll naturally just be colder down there. So that's where they go.
Okay.
So I generally speaking, I keep the males closer to the bottom, and then I keep the pine snakes, on the bottom as well. So basically that way they're, just slightly cooler anyway. Same thing with like the blood pythons. Like the blood pythons are in the same rack as like the boas, and it's like the boas needed a little bit warmer, but I have the blood pythons closer to the bottom of the rack, so they're naturally just going to stay a little bit cooler.
That makes sense. I know that's one thing I've read somewhere. Yeah, I either read it or heard it. I can't remember. On how it's apparently those of us that were keeping blood pythons earlier,
they were too hot.
The reason why they got like that whole nippiness aspect to them was partially because we were keeping them too warm.
Yeah, they're just hot and pissed off.
Yeah, and they were pissed off because they were too warm, essentially.
Yeah,
Because
you
I guess
want
they
those
apparently
things
like
kind of
a little
like
bit
in the,
cool.
yeah, you want those kind of like at, maybe like a hot spot of like 85 at most. And even at that,
Okay,
they're
yeah.
probably not going to use it with the exception of like when they're gravid and they're trying to like heat seek and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Phil says I'm going to get Jeremy a newspaper. It's his color palette. Phil, it is my color palette, bro. I can't help it, man. I really can't. Like, I think it's the whole contrast thing. I just love contrast. That's probably why the bright ass freaking green too. I mean, I don't know. Bright colors, lots of contrast. Now, you put out a new video this week, Brandon, going over some of like what you look for when you're going to make a purchase on a new edition. Dive into that a little bit. Explain us your process, um, and just kind of go over that whole thing.
Like what part of that, like specifically? Like what do you want like more detail on?
I would like to like with you had mentioned. Oh God! All right, now you're with
Quiz time. Just kidding.
yeah, quiz time. It would have been with the added genetics. Like if I'm trying to think how you
I mean, for
worded
that part, it's just to make the math better.
Okay.
It's like the example that I used in that specific thing was like I produced like a banana double het sunset clown, right? So it's like I have that female. It makes no sense for me to take like a double het male that I made to her because I'm fighting like 1 in 16 odds.
Yes.
So instead I can go buy a clown het for sunset male, which is going to be half the cost of a sunset het clown male. And I still have this, and I have better odds. I have 1 in 8 odds versus 1 in 16 odds.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's like, and there's a reason why the value is different, right? It's because everybody relatively has clown females, right? So it's like if you buy a sunset het clown, bam, now all of a sudden you have a ton of clown het sunset with a ton of combos. So it makes sense for that sunset het clown to be more valuable. So it's like, so that's why you could go the cheaper route and get the clown het sunset. You're still going to have the same odds when you breed it to a double het. The babies are going to be less valuable overall because instead of the babies that miss are only going to be 100% het for clown, not 100% het for sunset.
That's true. See, that's one, like my big fight, and I know I said about it slightly, is like, I've got I'll use my Xanthic project, for instance. Like the most genes I can throw into a snake right now, Xanthic wise, is pastel, spider, and then, the visual Xanthic aspect, and then the het clowns there as well. My big thing now is I've got to start looking at how to rapidly be able to add like more genetics in without spending a shit ton of money. And that's where I'm kind of like,
it's easy once you think about it. So think about it this way, right? You have, like, let's just say in this hypothetical world that you have your Xanthic female, correct?
Yep.
Like you already have it. You already have it on the table. So like an animal that I picked up a while ago, they were really cool people to deal with. It was like they're newer sellers on Morph Market, but Mosaic Morphs. I ended up picking up a GHI double het Xanthic clown, right?
okay.
For pretty reasonable price for the genetics that it has. So let's just say, so you already produce, say, Xanthic het clowns, right? So it's like you have Xanthic het clowns that you're already raising up. You already have them. For you to make cool and additional co-dominant genes to take into those animals, you just need to upgrade your male. So let's say, so you already have your Xanthic female, right? Now let's say you pick up a spot nose clown, or you already have your Batman or whatever. So now you take that Batman to your Xanthic female. Now you have, basically the little Bruce Wayne double het that you can take to your Xanthic het clown. Let's say the next year you want to get, I don't know, a black pastel something clown male, like super powerful. You know, it's like you could then take that male to your exanthic female. Now you have all of those co-dominant genes that are now double het for exanthic clown that you can take to your exanthic het clowns. It's very easy to recycle and reuse a base gene, exanthic or, you know, ultramel or whatever female to make multi-gene double het males to take back to your existing females that you already have.
I guess now that you lay it out like that, I guess I think I just overthink things.
Like just think about it though. It's like every single year, every year that you breed her, and you could get additional exanthic females. You know, it's like you could, like, a hypo clown male, cheap, relatively, $1,000 or less, or somewhere around there. Okay. You could get a hypo clown male, take that to your exanthic female. Now you have triple het for exanthic hypo clowns that you're raising up. The next year, who knows? Maybe someone produces a clown double het. Maybe someone produces an exanthic double het. And now you're narrowing your odds from like 1 in 64 to 1 in 32 to produce a triple visual. Each time you're getting closer and closer on those females that you can hold back. So now you're holding back a hypo clown female. Now you're holding back an exanthic clown female. Now you're holding back a true ghost female. And you're able to test for clown. You're able to test for hypo. You're able to test for exanthic. You're able to slowly compound all of those different genetics over the course of like a couple of years or a couple of different breeding seasons.
That makes sense. Now, here's another question. As far as which side you want your het to be on, do you want your female to be the het, or do you want your female to be the visual?
For me, so I picked up, and I will test them whenever they come out for it, like a couple of like exanthic, possible het desert ghost, and a couple desert ghost possible het exanthics. So when available, I'm going to test them for whatever gene. But ideally, the female, I would like it to either be like a codom that's like a double het, or I would like it to be a one visual with a het. And again, this is kind of like the balling on a budget thing, right? It's like, cool on you if you can go out and get like 5 or 6, you know, exanthic clowns or hypopides or desert ghost clown. You know what I mean? It's like, if you can do that, by all means. That's not the situation that I'm at.
That's not me though.
Like I would like to. I personally want to make a lot of my stuff. You know, like I want to have that process, you know, of like enjoying it and making my own projects. And so for me, like if I can get, like, don't get me wrong, I have like several double visual females, but I'm using those to like push other things forward. You know what I mean? And it's like, but for other things, just to have like versatility, either codom or multi-codom double het type girls or het girls or whatever, and then make your own males to go back to those.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then at the same time, when you're doing that, you're all obviously also like keeping back like a female or something, you know, like, you know, like your Batman thing, for instance, like I'll just use that. So that way I'm not giving away my own like ideas, but like, you know, let's just say that you take that Batman to your exanthic, and now you have the Bruce Wayne, you know, double het male. You could take back to an exanthic het clown female. Now you're at like the 1 in 8 odds of producing an exanthic clown. The odds are much higher to produce like the basically like the Batman exanthic clown, right?
Yeah.
Or the exanthic Batman, basically. But like once you produce that exanthic Batman, then you can take that back to that female and the other females that you held back. And now you're able to produce leopards, spot nose, you know, exanthic clown versions of both. And then you can add another codominant gene in there, like black pastel or whatever else, to like get back into those. And then, you know, like say if you get like a black pastel clown, you could take that back. Now you produce a black pastel clown that's het for exanthic. And then you could take that back that next year or whatever within an 18-month period back to those now double visuals or double hets, and now you've increased your odds and put another additional codominant gene in there. So you're able to do that over a much shorter period of time because you already have a solid base of females to be able to pair that male to. And you're producing your own male. You're producing your own male with these extra genetics that are just going to help ideally push your projects further.
That's true. Glenn here nailed it as well with my thought process on it too. It's easier to grow up the males.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Whore them out.
Yep.
Get them to the ladies that make the most sense and that work the best for or towards your projects.
Now, when you're also picking out your new addition or like your new pickups and everything, how do you now? This might be, and maybe this is going to come out really stupid, and I do apologize if it comes out really stupid sounding. But how do you know that if what you're getting is just the polymorphism that it looks nicer, if it is actually genuinely a nicer line of that gene?
Draw straw. I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, personal preference, right? Like, that's the one thing that's really nice with, like, the blood pythons is that, like, like, if you specifically key in and you're like, I want this and this and this to be, like, characteristics of this animal, then, that's kind of like the route or whatever that you're going to try and take that project. The same thing, like, so one, I got that on my like AirPod is slowly dying. That's at 20%, so it's got a lot of life left. But like there's quite a few Xanthic clowns out there, right? But it's like I already bought one from Elijah. Like I got a female from him like a good while ago now. But I know that it's a beautiful animal. Like, I mean, he's shown his adults. The damn things are silver and black. Like they're awesome. This female, silver and black. Like okay. She's like probably 400 grams right now, and she's silver and black. It's like, so I know that it's a nice line, but secondly, like a lot of the other Xanthic clowns that I've seen, they had connected patterns. Basically, they look like blades. I don't want that. I want a wide distributed, broken up alien head pattern. If I wanted connected pattern, I would go for Xanthic tri-stripes, which I am going for, but I don't want a tri-stripe looking clown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just not what I want. So it's like, I want a clown that has broken up alien heads, that has a lot of black, that has a lot of silver, and that has really good contrast. So it's like, I'm going to seek that animal out because will it have an effect on the babies? I don't know. Probably not. But for me, visually, whenever I'm going to breed that animal to wwhatever I'm trying to breed him to, it's going to have a more broken up pattern, and then visibly, whenever I try and sell, like I showed you him earlier on, when we're doing the little pre-show thing, but like my sunset male, he looks pretty decent. He's not bad looking, right? But on here, it doesn't look great, but I, show him on pictures, and I've used him in videos and whatever else. Because at the end of the day, me showing him and him looking like a nice adult is only going to benefit, the babies, because they can at least be like, okay, well, this is a nice looking animal as a baby, like, or as an adult. So it's like when my animal gets to 1,500, 2,000 grams, it's still going to look pretty decent. So it just goes to like a something that can help market potentially the animals, for the crowd that specifically wants like a specific look. And it's like, maybe it doesn't really have a factor as far as like the look of what the clowns and whatever else will be, but you can also breed that stuff out too. It's like, you can take that stuff into like spot nose and split the pattern up a little bit more. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's different avenues to go, but the closer you start to where you want the project to be, the better it'll be. Like that's the way it is with carpet pythons, right? I mean, that's the reason why some of the carpet pythons are more expensive than others, because it comes from a generation of line bred like jungle carpets that are like, Mountain Dew yellow, and like black. You know what I mean? It's like you want that look where it's like super high contrast with yellow and black, and the closer you start to that end goal, the better the results are going to be, versus having to do like 15 years of, line breeding and selective breeding to achieve it.
And that would be a painful 15 years considering they're like boas where you gotta wait like 3 to 4.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're waiting 3 to 5 years per time, so you're 3 generations deep 15 years later. Like, that's crazy. You'd be looking at 50 right now if you started with some like ugly carpets to start with. You know what I mean? Or not ugly. That's the wrong word, but
I know what you're
line
start off
bred,
with something that wasn't the greatest example of it.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised none of them are out. Actually, the one is, but you guys just can't see them on the bottom there. Here you can see them a little bit. Anyway, now like that's one thing. Like the carpet stuff is like I can definitely relate to the line breeding thing just because of the carpet aspect of it.
Yeah.
That there's a big aspect with carpets. Now,
so it's like it's just one of those things where it's like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's a lot of animals in here, but there's a lot of different projects.
yeah.
That's kind of my problem is I have too many interests and I'm working on narrowing those interests down. But to get to where I want to be, I have to grow first, right? So I have to like make the stuff to make the projects that I want, and then I have to get down to like just working on those projects.
Yeah.
And it's like, and at the same time, I do want the ability to pivot into like other projects if something comes up that's like, oh, that's cool. So it's like now maybe I want to take this into that. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's like there's a lot of different things, but it's like a quality over like quantity kind of deal, right? It's like, and certain things, I mean, it really depends on like what you're like working for or working toward. Like there's definitely projects that I'm producing or making one because I've raised up animals for X number of years. And it's like, I want to be able to see that project through.
Yeah.
And then there's like other ones that it's like, I might like let go of certain things only to be able to allocate that space or that time or whatever else towards another project. Like with the boas, for instance, like I really, really, really want to produce a super Roswell blood or a super Roswell hypo blood. Like it will look awesome. Like it's just going to. So it's like,
what does a Roswell like? Because I mean, I know what the bloods are. And I know
I'll have to send you like a picture of it. Like it's basically striped. Like it's basically a tri-stripe in a boa. Okay. Basically is what like a Roswell looks like. It's like generally like no pattern on the back, but then you have like side pattern and side striping. So you have like multi layers.
That
I'll have to find one for you because Boa Morph, dude's name is Steve. He produced some amazing looking hypo Roswells like back in like 2017 or 2018. And so I would like to basically make the hypo Roswell blood version of that.
Okay.
And then potentially also the hypo Roswell, blood albino or like sun dragon kind of thing.
Ooh.
But it's like that's like the project that I want to make with the bloods with the boas is that. So it's like that's one that I'm going to continue to strive for and continue to push for because it's like it's just really cool. It's like that's just the one that I want to make.
Well, I think out of all the boa morphs or combos, I should say, not morphs, but the combos, the sun dragon is definitely like my number one that I like. The sun dragon,
yeah,
that thing's just badass. The second, when my buddy Mike sent me the picture of the sun dragon when he hatched it, I was like, dude, that's freaking Photoshop. It's like, there's no way in hell there's a snake that's like that freaking fluorescent orange. Sure shit, the thing is that fluorescent orange as a baby. Thing beautiful.
And some of them don't stay that way, but if you look up Tim Easel, this dude in over in the UK, his stuff stays that color as adults.
Oh,
his stuff
fizzled out a little bit.
Yeah, his stuff is really pretty, and it's like, I mean, it's going to sound screwed up to say, but it just is what it is. The quality over in Europe is way better. It just is. Like
no,
my female that I have, she was from Europe, and she looks incredible. Like she's orange and white. Like she just, and the same thing is with like a lot of the call and a lot of like the sun dragon stuff and everything else. Like the quality of the bloods is better over there. The quality of like the call albinos is better over there. The quality of the sun dragons is better. They just turn out to be a much better, more colorful adult. It just is what it is.
Wonder why that is, though. That's interesting. I've never.
It's a different situation. I think a lot of it over there is because there's different regulations, and I'm not necessarily saying that we should be regulated by any means, but they are regulated over there. I know, like Vin Russo, he talked about it in like a podcast he was on with people that were trying to breed ball pythons over there in the UK. You know, the argument is a ball python does a lot better in a tub or yeah, exactly. It's big on lineage. You know, so over there, you have to have a specific size enclosure for an animal. So like say a ball python, they will say, okay, well, you need a 4 foot by 2 foot cage for this ball python. Well, you know, and now it's obviously maybe a little bit different, but this is what he was using for like the example. You know, and things obviously change. Like Gavin, he uses like rack systems and whatever else, like the LP racks. But at the time of whatever it was that I was listening to, you would basically have a, you know, like I think he was even talking about maybe leopard boas or something. I don't know. Either way, the fact of the matter is he would have a tub inside the enclosure that would be its like hide box, which the snake would basically spend all of its time in because it needed to be in a cage that fit the requirements. So generally speaking, you're able to house less animals in a smaller space because you know, everything has to be a certain size. Like my snake room itself, though, I think it's like 28 by 26 or something. So it's like I have like a massive snake room.
I see, dude, your snake room looks freaking huge.
Yeah, it's a good size room. So
I'm jealous. I can't wait to do my expansion. I think mine's 12 by 14 or something like that, and it's already feeling tight. So time to start working on the expansion here sometime soon. I got some of the stuff to do it, but not all of it yet. Anybody, if you guys have any questions for Brandon in the chat, drop them now. We're a little over 2 hours. We'll go a little bit longer here yet, but I don't want to keep you up too late. Plus, I did not get much sleep last night, and my butt's dragging a little bit. Kids just, man, the kids are wearing me down real quick here lately. Let's see. We talked about all that. All right. Since you're working with several different species, how are you determining how much of what you're taking to shows?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe. See, I'm over thinking too much into it. I guess.
One, it's going to come down to like availability.
Okay.
You know, so there's that. For all the Gettysburg shows that we've done Gettysburg and we've done Williamsport. And for each one of those shows, we've done one display of boas and one display of ball pythons.
Oh, okay.
So this upcoming one, I have those LP displays that I got from over in Europe, and I actually sold one of those sets today. I still have one set left, but he's going to pick it up. I'm going to get an ARS display, and it's only because at the end of the day, I want to potentially do like some NARBC shows and travel a distance. And I like the ability to just, you know, potentially just lock that case up and have the animals kind of in there, which I still don't know if I would do. I feel like I would still just like bring a ton of deli cups and just have everybody in deli cups and then like bring them in the day of the show and have it all set up and ready to go. So that's kind of the reason why I'm kind of like making that change. But I try and think of it like, because I think you can fit like 4 ARS displays on like an 8-foot table, right? Because mine, the LP ones, I could fit 3, and that was like really pushing it.
If you fit, I think
either way,
probably fit 4, but like I think it would depend on how
like
you're
super snug, I bet. But either way, like in the future, I would like to, in like the romantic world of having everything the way that you want it, I would like to be able to roll up to like a Tinley Park and have like a display of boas, a display of ball pythons, a display of blood pythons, a display of berms. You know what I mean? Like I would like to have just like one display that's here's all the stuff that you want for that category.
That would be nice.
It would just be cool. It'd be varied, and then it would also kind of force you to like pick the best of the best as far as like what you bring. But then also it kind of sounds like too much. But like, and then I also think like, okay, if I were to go to a Tinley Park, right? Like, would I bring any ball pythons? I don't know. Maybe I would just bring like the top layer, you know, like 5 cool ones that I just hit, like, you know, some like Sunset Ultramel or some like Xanthic Clown something, or, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, just bring like 4 or 5 animals to show them off, because everybody can view what I got on Morph Market. Like,
Well,
I don't need to bring my entire room's worth of animals. Here's a nice little sampling of some super cool stuff. If you want to see what I have available, check it out on Morph Market. Go buy it right now. I'll ship it to you when I get back.
That's actually an interesting way to look at it, and I actually do like that.
Like think about it, right? It's like if you bring to a show your friggin' Batman, Xanthic Clown, Red Stripe, whatever, and you have that at the show, and you have like maybe a couple things that are available that fit into that project. Like, let's say you have like a 5-slot rack. On one of them, you have like your little dime piece. Here are like a couple animals that are available from that project. Rinse and repeat. You know what I mean? It's like they don't need to see like every single thing that you've made. You could just bring literally the best of the best, the coolest thing that you made, and the rest of the stuff is available. Like, I mean, if they really, like, don't get me wrong, maybe they want to see it in person. I mean, I get it, you know, but at the end of the day, if they see like the cream of the crop and you're like, yeah, I got another one back home that's the female to this that's available or whatever, it's like they could buy it and you could ship it. I mean, it was probably going to have to be shipped anyway if they're going to like a place like Tinley or Anaheim or, you know, any of these other like massive shows. Like, it's going to have to wait until Monday morning or Tuesday morning to be shipped out and get to them Wednesday anyway. So what's the difference with you going home, that animal not having been at a show all weekend, and then you sending it to them directly from your house?
That's true. And plus, then if you do it that way as well, one, the animal isn't stressed from just coming back from a long ass drive and or flight or however you're getting everything out there. So it's more likely that it's not going to be all, I'm going to say, screwed up, so to speak,
Yeah.
feeding.
Just
and all
not going to
that
go
stuff.
thit'll the same amount of stress.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
It'll only
like,
go through the stress.
At the end of the day, though, it's like that table space is valuable. And I try and think about it like, you know, I definitely will be predominantly like ball python heavy as far as production, because there's so many different colors and patterns and everything else to work with, you know. But at the end of the day, like, you know, Darian or whatever, he made like his little jokes about, you know, about like Morph Market. It's like a reptile show, except you can skip the ball pythons, which is kind of funny. And it's like, and it sounds jacked up, but like we went today over to like the Repticon here in Baltimore, because it's like an hour and a half drive or whatever for us. Okay. So we drove out there. We like literally went in, we walked around for 10 minutes and then we left, because I just don't really think that there's going to be anything there that I'm like super interested in. Shoot, we stopped and looked at this goddamn micro squirrel for like 10 minutes. they're like these cute little friggin' they're called a dormouse. Cute little bastard. Itty bitty, like body like this, tail like this long, and they look like a tiny squirrel. Super cute. We looked at that, and we looked at this friggin' pig, because there was a dude that brought some like pigs that get as big as like a English bulldog. You know, we brought those, or we went in there and we seen those, and we were petting a friggin' pig and looking at this micro squirrel for longer than we looked at anything else. because at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff there, and it's like, and I get it. I mean, we do our shows too, and it's like, it's cool when people come by and they stop and look at stuff. But in the sea of like a reptile show, you might get tired at looking at ball pythons. Most people that come to our table stay and look at the boas for much longer. Matter of fact, I've sold boas at the shows. I have sold one ball python, and it was like a male leopard double het lavender clown. Every other snake that I've sold at any of the shows that we've done out here have all been boas.
Okay. See, I know exactly what you're saying with like a lot of times I'll cruise through a show if I'm really not looking to add anything ball python wise.
It's just a meet and greet to say hi to you know.
What's that?
Oh, I said it's just a meet and greet to say hi to the people that you know.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when I see a table that's got like different species on it, or like for instance, like carpets or bloods, like that's the stuff that stands out. And then I go to that and I stay there for a lot longer. But if I go to a ball python table, I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, because you already have your project
and off I go. Like I don't really spend a whole lot of time looking over them. Unless there's something that just outlandishly stands out that screams, I should maybe think about really buying this.
Yeah, because we already spend all of our time on Morph Market anyway.
I try to stay off of Morph Market. Morph Market is bad news.
I'm on there for research purposes. At least that's what I tell the fiance, right? It's like all research. I'm saving this for research. My like saved items though, I'm down to like I think I have like 48 or something like that animals in my saved.
Oh, okay.
Pretty reasonable number, I think.
See, I don't have any saved because I didn't know you could save an animal on Morph Market. Now that's damn it, Brandon. I'm gonna have to explain to the wife why I'm in the bathroom for like an hour now. I'm doing research, sweetie. It's okay. Sean here wants to know, do you plan on keeping the same balance on species that you work with for the foreseeable future, or changing up and going heavier on something?
It's like a bit of a mix, because overall I have been lowering my numbers within the boas. Like I actually have a couple of my adult females that I did not breed this season, like up and available, as well as a couple of males because I produced my own males that I plan on using for the females that I'm keeping back. But I'm basically planning on keeping like 3 or 4 pairs of boas. And that's pretty much what I'm at now. I literally have like 3 adult females that I need to sell. And then I think like 2 or 3 males. I think like 2 males. And then I have the berms that I want. So I'll just be producing I'll be producing my male that I plan on using for that. The only thing and then the ball python wise, I will probably keep around the same number. I'm basically kind of in that process now of kind of doing that Aussie kind of method. Like I actually just listed some stuff today and I still need to put up a couple more, but I listed a pastel super enchi desert ghost hypo because I have a pastel super chocolate desert ghost hypo male that's coming up. So it's like that male is now the new male is both a visual desert ghost and a visual hypo versus the last one was just a visual desert ghost and Hetfer hypo. So it's like I'm going to try and keep relatively the same cage numbers, but I'm going to just try and upgrade the males and females from stuff that I produce, with the exception of stuff that I need to add for projects or for like codoms and whatever else to get into those projects. The only one that I'm actively increasing numbers on, like by a drastic amount, and when I say drastic, I don't mean by like a lot, but like the blood pythons, I would like to have around maybe 10 or so pairs or something around there, like total, like 10 to 15 adult animals, or 10 to 15 adult females rather. And then that way I could basically have potentially 3 to 4 like blood python clutches per year.
Okay.
Is basically kind of where I like want to have that at.
And Sean also asked, do you have any pet reptiles that you have no plans on breeding?
I think some of it is more of I don't care if they do it or not. And that's kind of the berms, not all of the berms, But like that big old girl that I pulled out earlier,
Yeah.
It would be nice if she bred. It would be nice. Just because she's a beautiful animal and I really want to produce some granites. But at the end of the day, I don't really care if she does produce. I just don't care. The ones that I spent a lot of, like, I mean, I paid like a good amount for her when I got her, but that was also like 8-9 years ago. You know, it's like the ones that are like the triple het for caramel, pied, and granite. Like, I want those to breed because I paid a lot of money for those. Like, and I would like to at least recoup my investment plus what I would foresee as like caging and food costs for those. And then once I produce like my caramel granite pied male or whatever, I could care less if those things breed every 3 or 4 years. You know, because again, at that point, it's just to potentially offset the cost of, you know, my time to clean their cage and also just be able to produce some really pretty animals.
Yeah. No, that's kind of like, I plan on, like I said, adding in like the Sumatrans. I would love to add in some green trees, but I don't know if I'd ever get enough to breed them. What's that?
I have no interest in green trees.
Really? Oh man, I
would much more prefer an emerald tree boa over a green tree python.
Now, why is that? I'm just curious.
And overall, it just seems like they're hardier. The babies come out bigger. You're not going to have, like, don't get me wrong, the same issues can apply, right? Like, you know, but a baby green tree python is so tiny. You blow on that thing too strong and it's going to friggin' snap its body in half. You know, versus like an emerald tree boa, you get a couple meals in it and you can sex it. You can just palpate it and feel what it is and see if it's a male or a female. You know what I mean? Like, just the sense of like the fact that it's not nearly as fragile. And I've unfortunately killed both. So, you know, it just is what it is. Like, and a lot of it's just the source. Like, I got like a green tree python from like the store that my buddy, like, he worked at. Like, he had like a nice little baby that I was able to trade some like normal boas, like a group of normal boas, basically wholesale traded. You know, got the green tree, it was doing fine. And then for some reason, it's like deciding to like hang out on the ground. And I'm like, well, that's not a good sign. So it just keeled over. I got an Amazon basin from friggin' Joe Switalski, who's like a known kind of piece of shit. And, you know, and that thing never ate for me, not once. I had to force feed it for like 4 months. And then it finally just keeled over and he was like no help whatsoever. You know, but if you get a nice animal from someone, you know, like, I don't know why I was about to say Frank Martin, because he's not Ed Marino, like, that's the dude to get an Amazon basin from. Like, that's the dude to get that stuff from. And he's right here in Maryland. He's very close to both of us.
Oh.
And you can get like a very, like, granted, it's going to cost you some money, but you're going to get an animal that's already like a year old, that's super solid, and he will tell you exactly how you're supposed to care and take care of that animal for it to thrive. And that's the only snake that dude works with is emerald tree boas and like basins.
Oh.
So just in that aspect, you know, like they come off as a much hardier animal. So.
I mean, to me, they're both stunning. I don't know. I love the green trees. I had a Biak years and years ago. She was beautiful, friendly, except for at night. She was a witch at night. She's like complete, total witch.
Yeah, you just don't mess with them at night.
Dude, you couldn't. She was in it. Like, I kept everything because that was back when I still lived at home years and years and years ago. Like, I couldn't. When you would walk into the bedroom, I had her in the one corner. So that way I did not need to go anywhere near her in order to get to my bed or to do anything. Like, she could just stay in the corner away from everything, and I didn't have to interact with her at night. Just if you got within 5 feet, she was striking at the glass. But daytime, complete, like, the light was switched off. She was completely fine, and, you know, fun to work with. Beautiful snake. But
Oh, yeah.
I've always wanted a Saurong. Always wanted a Saurong, just because I think the greens are a little bit nicer, and that stereotypic blue stripe that they get. Oh my god, man! That's one of my dream snakes.
They're pretty, no doubt. Like the Canary Island ones are super pretty. The ones that are friggin' yellow,
Yeah,
like those ones are awesome. But at the end of the day, like I already know that I would want to breed it at some point or try and breed it at some point. And it's like, how many like horror stories or whatever you hear with like breeding the green tree pythons, and it's like eventually maybe you'll get them to lay eggs, and then maybe those eggs will hatch, and then maybe those babies will start to eat. I feel like I dealt with so much of like the turbulence and the trials and tribulations with like the boas that I really just want to enjoy something that I feel like loves me back. And I don't feel like the ball pythons necessarily love you back, but I definitely feel like you're
they're a little bit easier on you.
You're rewarded for your time and effort and energy.
Yeah.
Like you're rewarded by seeing your production. You're rewarded by getting healthy babies that eat. You're rewarded by those animals growing up and breeding for you within 2 to 3 years. Like there's a lot of rewards that you get from those animals versus a lot of heartache from potentially other things.
No, I agree with you on that one. The balls are definitely a lot more rewarding, or so it seems anyway, just from hearing stories from everybody else. So I have heard like the green trees are a pain in the ass to try to get clutches from. Seems like it's one of those deals where you just hope and pray and cross your fingers and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, hope for the best.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, we're almost at 2.5 hours, bro. I think we're gonna call it a night. Everybody, I want to thank. First of all, I want to thank you, Brandon, for joining me tonight. Sean here says, with the Chondro babies, you're fighting it to keep it alive. Yeah.
Yeah, like why don't you want to live?
I do. I have a ball python hatching right now that I ask that. Like I've asked it every time I tried to feed it. It like runs away from the. I've tried hoppers. I've tried pups. I've tried like live hoppers, frozen thawed hoppers. Like the thing runs away scared to death of the food. It's like, why don't you want to eat? Like, come on. It's like you should be hungry by now. But yeah. Anyway, next week we've got my brother Chris at S Reptilia joining us. And then on the 28th, we've got Charlie of Gray Rider Reptiles, which also does the genetic testing. So we're going to dive deep into his part of the genetic testing. And then on June 4th, we've got the PA Breeder Roundtable. That's right, everybody. We are going to be having Danny from DTMG, Nathan of Infinite Possible Pythons, Chris at S Reptilia, and we've got John and Christine of Triforce Morphs for sure. We might be adding in 1 or 2 other faces into that roundtable. We'll see, but it's going to be a blast. Hold on here. Matt says, I have a ball python that I bought last August and she hasn't eaten for me yet. Matt, sometimes I have a pied here that hasn't eaten since October, kind of depending on the size and stuff. The size, like you could be at that 1,000-gram wall possibly. There's just ball pythons are quirky. Yeah, so I'm right there with you, dude. Right there with you.
Something like that, I feel like is like, I don't know what his situation is or whatever, but oftentimes if it's not eating, people are going to continue to offer food to it. Just like, don't do that. Like, just like don't offer anything to them for 2 or 3 weeks and then offer something to them, because it's like something is stressing the animal out to where it doesn't want to eat. Like if it's a male, maybe it wants to breed. Maybe it needs a smaller tub. Maybe you need to offer it a mouse. Maybe you need to offer it an ASF. Maybe you need to offer it a frozen thawed rat and just leave that sucker in overnight. Like oftentimes, like if the size of the animal is maybe too big, it might be, scared of the animal. If it's not moving enough, it might not even recognize it as food. I mean,
That's
you know,
true.
there's so many different factors. So it's like, try a smaller item, try leaving it in overnight, try not offering it food every single week to stress it out. You know what I mean? There's literally so many different options and avenues that you could do to, you know, to give it, you know, whatever it needs. You know, it's like,
Different
maybe it
bedding.
doesn't want to be on paper. Maybe it wants to be on cocoa. Maybe it wants to be on cypress mulch. Maybe it wants a mouse instead of a rat. You know what I mean? There's like so many different ways to skin the cat, but you can't be trying a different way every single week. You have to like give time off to like unfurl itself and like unstress itself to where it's just kind of chilling. And then it's like, you know, maybe now you offer it whatever in a, you know, in a smaller enclosure with a hide, with a different substrate. You know what I mean? It's like just options, you know?
Matt said she's apparently roughly about 300 grams. She actually escaped for a week, and I found her in the garage, still a stubborn shit.
Yeah. Leave it alone. Let it hang out.
Yeah.
Try and offer it something small.
Oh yes. Matt, thanks for posting that link, dude. Appreciate it. And then after the PA breeder roundtable, we've got Lindsay here of Pico Pythons going to be joining us on the 11th. Then on the 18th, we've got Jeremy Bald from Bald's Exotic Reptiles. And then after that, I don't have anybody booked yet. I'm kind of, you know, I don't want to get too far ahead, but we're looking really solid for who we've got coming on. Debating on if I'm going to do a live during the breeder barbecue, which might be adding too much chaos on my table. But then if I don't do that, I'll still probably be doing the live on this day after, which would be Sunday, which I think Jeff and Angie of Celtic Balls will still be here. So maybe we'll do like a live duo thing there with them being here. So I think they're staying all weekend. So Chad, brother, what's up? His ass is going to be here for the barbecue. That's going to be fun. Chad, you definitely got to see the man cave. So that way you can see all the neat, cool goodies I added to it, bro. But anyway, everybody, that is going to be tonight's episode. I do want to take another quick minute here just to thank the sponsors of this week's episode because I greatly appreciate all their support. We've got my brother Nathan at Infinite Possible Pythons. If you need anything in the Bang project, definitely hit Nathan up on that. So we're working on a bunch of other badass ball python projects as well, but he's the main person to go to for Bang. And then on top of it, he's also got Kahua geckos, crested geckos, Leachianus geckos, and he's doing some scaleless corn snakes as well. Hit Nathan up, and he's your one-stop shop for all of your branding needs. So if you need tablecloths, backdrop banners for shows, business cards, shirts, anything like that, apparel, just merch in general, hit Nathan up. He's the man to go to. And we've got my brother Chris at S Reptilia, which is basically a one-stop shop for all of your reptile needs, unless you need a gecko. He can't help you out with geckos or lizards. But snakes, folks, he has you covered. Boas, ball pythons, blood pythons, different types of colubrids. He's got it all, folks. He literally basically has everything you could ever want, and they're beautiful animals as well. He's also a Eastern PA rat breeder. So if you are on the eastern side of PA, hit Chris up for your rats. And on top of it, he is Pennsylvania's distributor of Cocoa to Go and the Chipper, which is by far the best reptile substrate on the market, in my opinion. Just my opinion, I love Cocoa to Go. The stuff's absolutely amazing. But hit Chris up if you are interested in any of that. But definitely, try out the Cocoa to Go, folks. You're going to love it. And then we've got, there we go. We've got the Gettysburg Reptile Expo LLC. Definitely check them out. Links for all the sponsors are in the description down below. The next show is coming up in July. I believe it's something like the 15th or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. but I think it's the week after the breeder barbecue, or 2 weeks after the breeder barbecue. Hold on, give me a second here. I'll let you all. I will tell you all the exact date. July 15th. Yes, July 15th is the next Gettysburg Reptile Expo LLC. So definitely go check it out. I might be bringing some visual exantics for sale, maybe some stuff just to show off. There might be a carpet python there. I don't know, folks. The carpets are flying off the shelves before they're even like here. I think basically almost the whole clutch is sold already. It's awesome, but at the same token, like I was looking forward to having something at the show. Definitely check out Husbandry Pro as well. If you aren't using it, click our affiliate link in the description down below, or scan this QR code here and free 30-day trial of the best reptile record keeping and tracking software on the market, folks. I love it. Saves me so much time. Definitely check it out. And then Redline Shipping. We're not affiliated with them yet, but I'm working on it. But use code Robin60 for 60% off 2 shipments. You can't beat it. Excellent customer service, and hey, the prices off the start are a lot cheaper than what I've seen from any other shipper. You're not sacrificing anything for those cheaper prices, so definitely check out Redline Shipping. And that's going to be it, everybody. Brandon, thank you again for hanging out with me tonight, bro. I appreciate it. Hang on here 1 second while we wrap this up. This week's video, folks, for Wednesday should be, it's an update video on one of the clutches. I don't know I think I'm going to do an update on Clutch 1. I still need to make the thumbnail for Clutch 2's update. And also I've got to add in some stuff for that video as well with some recent developments on the sexing odds of that. Didn't make out as quite as well on the male to female odds as what I thought. Everything was good on the Exantic end. It was just on the possible double het stuff that some of the females became males. But that's why I check and triple check anything that is a female, just to double check and make sure. So yeah. So that being said, thank you everybody so much for all the support. Brandon, thank you for being on here, brother. And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.